Good evening, guys. How are you doing? Hey, PB, good to see you. Hey, Guardian. Hey, Sandy. Hey, Grayman. Hey, Gil. Good to see you, brother. Hey, Shannon. And Camperton. Gil as well. Yeah, that's all. Thank you guys for stopping by. I appreciate it. And welcome to this live stream. And thanks for the thumbs up. And now I'm going to do like this. Preparedness veteran. There you have the link, buddy. Hey, dear love survival, good to see you. And you know the drill, PV. Feel free to pop up. Hey, PV.
Hi. How you doing? You all right, Shadow?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good, actually. I just got back home. I had been on my parents-in-law's house for we had a little bit movie afternoon, you could say that.
All right. Yeah.
So, yeah. Well, you need to hang out with your kids.
Yeah. Good stuff. Now we got the rule of survival in the house. John, Shannon, Greyman prepping. Yeah.
Hey, John.
Guardian Fitness, Sandy's Serenity Corner.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good.
So, and then when I got back home, I had to go to the grocery store, and get some stuff, but I was. Hey, Gil, good to see you, brother.
Hey.
Hey, Gil.
How you guys doing?
We are doing pretty good.
Yeah, good.
How are you guys doing?
Yeah, I'm doing well. Bit of maintenance, bit of prep checks this week. The weather is, we're still waiting for summer. We've been walking around in fleeces this week still. So, yeah. It's you got to have an indoor hobby in this location because it's never guaranteed. Apart from that, yeah, fine. Yeah.
My grandson broke the key off in my tractor.
Oh man.
I'm not. And the dealership is no longer a dealership. They sold it to someone else way out of town, and they were closed on Saturday, so and Friday, and so I won't be getting any keys till next week. But
it's not a universal key, no.
No, it's a tractor. It's specific for Coyote tractors.
All right. Can you not make one? Looks like a pretty simple thing, or is it 3D?
Well, it's got.
Right. Yeah.
It's got shoulders on it there.
Yeah.
So. Yeah. But it's like, hey, I got other stuff to do. Boy, do I got other stuff to do. So.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like on a boat, you see, most engines, if you got like an Isuzu engine or any other form of engine that's common throughout the system, you can just put your key in someone else's boat and use it. And they're pretty universal in that way. But
yeah. Now here it's like, John Deere keys are for John Deere's, Caterpillar keys are for Caterpillar, Coyote for Coyote.
Good to see you.
Whatever brand it is, it's for that particular brand. But they're good for all, like Caterpillar's good for all Caterpillars. John Deere's are good for all John Deere's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Nick Muller, good to see you.
Yeah, and for today's topic, how to deal with strangers, I come up with this idea. Actually, it was from another channel I'm following. It is Reliable Prepper's channel. He had made a video about how to deal with strangers when you bug in,
Right.
and he
Yeah.
had some good points on how to deal with it. So
Yeah.
Or not necessarily even if you have a bug in. I mean, they can be, you can encounter them when you're out and about, or they
Yeah.
could be, you could be out in the garden and someone walking past lost, or you could be bugging out lost and bump into other groups that are doing the same sort of thing as well. That sort of scenario.
yeah,
There-
so
the
that
only
is
thing-
why I came up with this topic. So
Yeah.
Yeah. The only thing I can say about dealing with strangers, there is no set rule on how to do it other than being cautious because the situation changes. Their attitude and their demeanor changes the scenario. Everything changes everything. It's like, you got like all these little balls coming down like a pachinko game, and what order they land in the bottom is going to determine how you react.
exactly.
Yeah. I mean, no matter what the scenario, there's various things you can do with sort of like a commonality set of rules, I suppose you can adopt. But I would assume everyone is desperate. I would assume, trust no one. Yeah, but trust is a hard thing to build up, and you can't really do that in an instant with a stranger. It's all right if you're facing a common threat, and it's all fine and dandy until that threat. You work together until that threat goes. But trust, but verify the situation and before fully trusting them. Definitely.
Well, that's one of the things too, is what is the scenario of the event? Is it something short term, like the power's been out for 3 weeks and it's got 3 more weeks to go? Is it this is going to be some disaster going on? It's going to last for 6 months. Is this just something really bad that's happening? It's going to be really short term.
Well, ban some scenarios around, I suppose. Yeah, definitely.
But one of the things I would say is before so be cautious first, be suspicious, watch their actions, their demeanor, question them, see if they're giving out any of the telltale signs of lying. Like if they look up, they're thinking. If they're looking down, they're getting ready to lie. That's one of the things they teach. We teach at Homeland Security when interrogating people. One of the things also to consider is it a single person? Is it a family? Is it a group of adults? Is there with no children? Is it a group of just guys? Is it a group of just girls? Is it equally mixed? All these play into it. If you're out there and a man and a woman, say in their late 30s, early 40s, and they got a couple teenagers and some pre-teens and a couple, first, second graders or something like that, they're probably going to be less of a threat because they don't want to endanger their kids. And it also depends what you can do to give them. I almost forgot something else very important. 2 other rules. 1, you can't save everybody. 2, you shouldn't try to save everybody because you're going to get yourself killed.
I agree with that. Reliable Prepper in his video, he especially when you bug in, if you look out through your window and see people Now, let's say you have a road and neighbors on the other side of it, and if you see a person go and looking through other houses' windows and things, that would make some suspicions about what they are after. So what he says is you should keep an eye on the strangers, on how they behave. If they are nervous or scared, or if they, as I said, look into through the windows and pull the doors and see if it's open or anything like that, that creates some suspicions.
Yeah.
That they are not up to no good. So you need to keep an eye on them and keep, you basically, now we're talking about surveillance. Basically, it's before you can move on, you need more information about those stranger. It could be a lone father, and he left his wife and kids on another place because he would probably not risk their safety. So he
could be looking for some place to hold up too.
Yeah.
Go and continue on that. He could just be looking. All right, I can get to this place. Nobody's home. I'm going to go get my family. Bring the family back. Get in there and hunker down for a little while. That's one possibility. But then there's the other possibility of someone just up to no good as well. So.
Yeah. Hey,
it depends.
Good to see you.
Depends on the actual the scenario, the event itself. If it's a short-term event, I think you're more likely to interact and you're more likely to let people in. Let's say it's a forest fire, for instance, and you know, in that scenario, or they're escaping an immediate threat. It could be something as simplistic as some wild animals going through the area that they're trying to escape, for instance. So you're far more likely to let them in. But regardless of that, I think you've got to adhere to some general principles, which, safety first. Always prioritize the safety of yourself, your family, and others within your compound, home, flats, or wherever it is, and have a predetermined plan put in place already to defend yourselves if necessary. So always have that in plan. That should be in place now, that sort of defense plan.
Mm-hmm.
Assess the situation. It could take seconds if it's a short-term event to weigh up the odds of, do you let them in, do you don't? If you don't let them in, what's the consequences? Is normality going to come back at some point? If it is, and you don't let them in, they die. You've got to live with that. Or if you do let them in a short-term scenario, who knows what's going to happen?
Backstab you.
Yeah, once they're in, they're in. That's it.
Yeah.
They're in your sort of sanctum abode, or so. Trust your gut feeling initially. A lot of people will do anything, say anything, lie, and do what it takes to get into your abode, if need be. If they're that desperate, they will. So caution is definitely the key. You may even know the people, and that's a completely other scenario again. If you know the people, and it's a slightly longer term scenario, you should have had some sort of comprehension as to what these people are like anyway. You're on a starting block already. So it's the general sort of commonality of the first indications is what you got to look forward to initially. But someone come knocking at your door and it's a longer term sort of scenario, and there's the chances of normality coming back aren't too great, or the uncertainty is there, then this is when you got to weigh up the situation of, do you or don't you? And I'm tending towards you don't, because, like I say, once the door's open, they're in. And it's a case of, how do you get them out if they're not the people you thought they were? But not only that, I mean, the strangers, you've then got to decide if you do let them in, or you are weighing up the decision to let them in. You've only got a finite amount of resources, and you've then got to quickly decipher in your head, how long are we going to now be able to sustain ourselves with 3 extra people in there, 2 extra people, and you've got X amount of rations and so on and water.
And that goes to the other thing too, is how big is your abode? How much land around it, if you have land around it, if you're not in an apartment. And, and then it goes back to what I mentioned before. What is the event going on?
Yeah.
Is it long-term, short-term, whatever? And how's everybody else reacting out there too? If everybody's, if it's, point comes to mind is what happened in Seattle and Portland stuff during the Summer of Love, where the rioters are going around tearing up neighborhoods and stuff. But if you see people out there just throwing stuff and causing problems, and you see a family trying to work their way from yard to yard, hiding from the rioters, do you help those people? Because they're obviously not one of the rioters. They're more innocent, you think. They appear to be. Do you help them or not?
Yeah. Strangers. So
good people are in a real bad situation. Good people are going to be hard to come by.
Even in peacetime now, I do not.
I agree with that.
Interact with strangers coming to the door. That's now. So any sort of other event, then they've got no chance. Put it that way. Their first.
Good to see you, brother.
Their first warning is crossing the outer gate. That's the first warning, and they adhere to the warning signs. If they've gone beyond that, then that's one chance gone. And the second chance is they're at the door then. So by appointment only, I'm afraid, in my case. I mean, if we're not talking in the early stages, we're talking a bit more advanced days or weeks throughout an event, then you could get people begging, going door to door, no matter what, because they're desperate and so on. I've heard stories of people, when the insurance man comes around or the police or whatever, people pretend they're not in and stuff like this. If you play the silent card, then they're going to say, oh, well, there's no one in, they'll just smash the door in or burn it in or do whatever it takes to smash the windows in anyway. But I think you got to, I think the key is you've got to be firm initially, make your intentions known that, you've got no chance of getting in here, move on to someone else because we're not playing game, move along.
Yeah.
Being the nicey guy in these sorts of scenarios will leave you vulnerable, and it'll end up, like Gil said earlier, you'll end up getting hurt or killed or or kidnapped or whatever. It's pretty grim.
Yeah, and another thing is learn to read people's body language, because that says everything. Because if you lie, the body shows that you lie, but you need to know exactly what you're looking for when they lie or telling the truth.
Yeah. There was a TV show called Lie to Me. And it was all about that, talking about, the guy that froze for a second. The guy that was one of the producers on it was the one that actually wrote all the the class stuff that Homeland Security, Customs and Border Protection, TSA, a bunch of other federal agencies use for their observers that observe people to see what they're doing and tell about it. The problem is there are a class of people called narcissists, which sometimes can, you can't tell if they're lying when they're looking you right in the eye, and they just lie so much they don't show most of the telltale signs.
Yeah, Guardian's got a question there. What if a person knows how to use niceness as a shell to be bad bait?
That is what we call manipulation.
Yeah, manipulation, Trojan horse style behavior and all this sort of stuff. It wouldn't wash with me. You know, there's got to be a set of defined rules, and everyone in your household or wherever you are must know, and they must be pre-briefed, pre-trained. Just, you know, under no circumstances is anyone to come in if that's the way you're going to play the game. People can be put any sort of facade on in order to gain a little bit of trust, gain a foothold, etc., etc. Like I said, it's the child in the box scenario. They will do anything, say anything, promise anything, offer you anything to get in. If their intention is just to get in, then you know that's it. You got to be very wary as well, promising people things. You know, oh, I'll come back tomorrow. We might have something. You just don't make anything promises you can't back up. Don't try to be aggressive. Don't try and challenge. Don't try and challenge people. You know, if someone says, you know, let us in, and you say, what if I don't? Then you're challenging them. You know, you're putting it back into their court to come back with a sort of counter offer or counter action or solution. Don't give them the chance. Yeah, firm and fair, be decisive, and if need be, tell them the implications that if they don't comply, then that's what's going to happen. But I mean, you know, it's very, I'll suggest it's very, very difficult in some circumstances because, you know, the people in a more shorter term scenario, they could be, you know, they could have a history of murder, looting, rape, and all sorts, but their sole intention could be just to survive the event with as same as you know. So it's completely your call. Yeah, like I say, in the shorter term scenarios, I think you're more likely to get away with it if the person's got bad intentions.
Hey, Ladies Guy, good to see you.
Engaging with someone is probably the worst thing you can do, is because in a longer term, because you know you're then into an argument almost, and you're into the scenario where you're both sort of putting your case forward. One, you're putting your case forward why he shouldn't be let in, and he or she is putting the case forward as why he should be let in. You know.
Yeah, you don't have to make a case for why he should not be let in. You can just say, "Hey, my house, my rules. That's it."
Yeah. But some people are like that, you see. Some people like they it's like people who come to the door on election week and or cold callers, you know, or people who phone up unexpected, these scammers. Same sort of scenario, really. You know, someone phones up, "Oh, can I interest you in this? You just won the lottery, etc., etc. But I need you to release funds before I can access them," and all this sort of stuff. You just say no, not interested, put the phone down, or if it's an unrecognized number, you don't even answer. Whereas some people engage with them, and that's probably the worst thing to do, because they've got you. Then they've got their speech down to a T, because I
used to love dealing with those people at work. Right. We had a couple of landlines for emergencies. Everything else was VoIP phones. Yeah. So we had a couple of landlines for emergencies, and sure as heck, we would know, because the landlines were like 001, the other one was 002, and so the one would ring first and the second one, and when they rang the first one and we'd answer the phone, Homeland Security emergency line, what is your emergency? Oh, blah 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 blah. Didn't you hear what I said? No. Homeland Security emergency line, what is your emergency? Click. And when the next phone rang immediately later, "Hey, idiot, you're calling federal." You know, "Hey, idiot, you're calling federal numbers," and they just stop. But there are you know, some of them you get them on there, and you can play if you're bored, you can have fun with some of those scammers that way.
Yeah, well, it's like Sandy's Serenity Corner says there, engaging with them can be a lot of fun, but you know, we're talking about a serious shit is the fan situation, and the doors go up, the batches, the buttons go, hatches get battened down, and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah. The other thing too is if you get people like that, you can put on an act that'll scare the heck out of them. And you're talking to them, and he's like, shut up, shut up. Nobody's there. And you go, I told you to be quiet. And go back to talking. And then they're looking like, what's going on here? And, I told you to be quiet. No, put that gun away. And you go back to talking to him. The person's looking around, what's going on here? And suddenly they just back off and leave.
Yeah. Hey, Guardian.
Because they think you're totally crazy.
Be wary. Be very wary about if you start to do that sort of stuff, though, and you can't back it up.
Yeah.
Calling
you're just pretending to be totally crazy, and they're going like, okay.
Yeah. I think Shadow, the Real Love Survival wants to know how we can join on screen as well.
Okay. Yeah, Shadow just recently put up the link. The Real Love, if you want to join us, just smash that button there.
Yeah, when somebody pop up, I deleted the link because I had so many trolls. That's why I have to do like this way. Because
it makes sense.
Yeah, short term and yeah. I mean, that's why we have all the trolls. That's why on mine you have to be a subscriber for at least 5 minutes to make a comment. I set that up on mine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I set mine for 10 minutes, subscriber for 10 minutes, but that didn't help much.
All right.
Oh, who's it? I can't remember his name now. He has his set for an hour. You have to be a subscriber for an hour before you can say anything. So he wants long-term subscribers commenting, not just somebody new coming in.
Well, that kind of makes sense to a degree, but it does also kind of cold shoulder, perhaps, potential people that might have something interesting to add to a conversation as well. Hey, dear Love.
Dear Love.
Good to see you, brother.
So, I would say you got to prioritize safety. This sort of thing should be thought through beforehand and be prepared for it to happen, because it may well happen, especially if you're in a built-up area or you're on a route where people may transit through in a sort of situation where there might be people moving. So assess your situation. Is the person armed? Could they be armed?
Good to see you, my friend.
Assess their body language. Have a plan B in case, things do go loud or you do have to get violent.
Hey, the prepared Irishman. Good to see you, brother.
So be prepared to defend yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And, it might be a good idea to think about things like, peepholes indoors. So you're talking, or, little hatches or something like that, or intercom system, or you turf them away via the upstairs window or something like this, but never open the door. That's probably the worst thing to do, because you're giving them an easy access way straight away. Then,
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, closed circuit TVs are the cameras. Some of the cameras are like this small, and they give you good quality infrared. And I got several dozen of them around. But the thing is, they also have microphones on, so you can hear what's going on out there. And if you place them far enough away from the front door and stuff, you can hear them as they come walking up the sidewalk and come walking up the walkway to the house. You hear what they're saying. And if they're saying nefarious things on the way in, don't even answer the door type thing.
Yeah. I mean, these, I would be thinking along the lines of, one person's trying to engage or trying to, they're trying to get in through the front door. It might be a ruse and a decoy situation. Around the back, there's other people, because they're part of a bigger group trying to gain access at the back as well. And if you do engage with these people, and everything you say or indicate, or show them, it could all be used. It could be a part of a recce, for instance. You've got to think in terms of complete protection in this sort of scenario. And especially when you go down the longer term sort of route. Yeah, security, number one. And it all starts with the soft entry of someone knocking at a door.
Well, the other thing too is, how many people are there with you? Are you by yourself?
Yeah.
Is it you and your spouse? Is it your whole family? Is it some relatives that you have pre-planned that they're going to be coming to your location, and they've already stationed food and supplies there already? So if you have 12 people, you can have, all right, you guys watch the back door. You guys get upstairs and you watch and you have positions assigned when someone comes to the door.
Yeah, I mean, I've not personally experienced this in any household, but I've experienced this on army camps and on deployments where you've sectioned off an area, perimeter of your sort of location, and you get groups of people trying to look to see what you're doing because you're an unfamiliar face or an unfamiliar asset in the area, or you get groups of kids. People use their kids as assets to beg, borrow, and steal because they appear to be a soft touch. That's a particularly common one I've seen all throughout the world. And you basically you got to stand there firm, make it known that there's no way they're getting in.
Yeah.
They've got no valid reason. Stay there, sort of thing. And in one particular scenario in Sierra Leone, for instance, we had ditches, barbed wire fences, armed guards, and it was surrounded by, beyond the barbed wire fence, surrounded by kids begging, basically. And on the one arm, on one side, people were saying, "Oh yeah, they're only kids. Give them some rations and give them some bit of water and all that sort of stuff." But after these kids are being played by their families, or watching them a couple of 100 meters away, saying, "Go on, ask them more," this sort of stuff. And as soon as you give them a bit, 10 more turn up, 20 more the next day, and 20 more the next day, and before you know it, you
have 200 people outside your doorstep.
Yeah, you've got the reputation of being a sort of a giveaway station, an easy, place to get things or barter things or whatever. But from the start, it's got to be from the start. There's no other way.
Yeah.
I think a golden rule, and something that I've unfortunately, within my experience, just with people, I've had to learn that you just really can't trust anybody. And I mean that maybe you can trust somebody over an extremely long time and period of time as well, but even then they'll still surprise you. So, trust as few people as you need to. And this, applies to everything in the topic that we're talking about when it comes to meeting new people as well. I do understand that sometimes people may have, you may have the urgency or requirement to interact or to engage with others, but you have to be so extremely cautious and careful at all times. I know that there are good people out there, but it seems extremely difficult to find them, So just be cautious out there, regarding all situations in the modern world, or in a time where things have turned a bit upside down, even more so in that scenario.
Yeah,
it's a couple of days ago. There were a guy who moved in on our second floor here, and when I went out to go to the grocery store, there were one of my neighbors who live on the first floor. She is disabled. She is in a wheelchair, and that was her and her daughter. And the other two, the guy who moved in on the second floor and his helper. And I just talked to her daughter, my neighbor's daughter, and I said to those two guys that I'm going to be honest with you. I don't trust nobody. I don't trust my neighbors. I don't. And my disabled neighbor's daughter said, "You helped my mother." Yeah, I did, because I know her well. But so don't think I'm paranoid or something, but so or something. No,
Think-
you're not.
yeah.
That's okay. That's okay with us. No problem. I said I have been through a lot of things through my life that makes me not to trust people.
Yep.
Okay, we understand. Don't say you don't need to say anything more. So, and they understand that, and my disabled neighbor's daughter said, "So you don't hang out with your neighbors at all?" No, I'm not.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah.
Okay, we respect that. So I'm fine with that. So
Have you, Coaster, have you had any experience with this sort of thing? You there?
yeah, I'm here.
Coaster survival.
Yeah, he is
I
there.
don't think he can. He's got audio. I'll give you another example. He's getting his microphone out. There's in Afghanistan we had, and this is the danger of letting someone in, even if you think you trust them or whatever. But in Afghanistan, we had loads of local workers in the camp. Just about all the camps had local workers in them. Local Afghans and stuff, whether they be interpreters or they're working in the canteens or they're cleaners or they're maintaining the roads or whatever it is. But there was a large element of locals in the camp, and we used to call them dickers. So the dickers would be the ones who would try and infiltrate the camp by legitimate means, on the ruse of being a worker or whatever. Or there could have been, some of these people were injured on purpose, shot on purpose, or they had some other injury on purpose. So they were picked up by the Kazakhs, brought into the camp to be treated because they were involved in a military skirmish and whatever it is. But these workers and so on, they would get into camp, they'll see the layout of the camp, they'll see where the stores are, what the vulnerable targets were, how many troops congregated in certain areas, etc., etc. When meal timings,
good to see you, man.
Hey, Prepper, when the meal timings were and all this sort of stuff. And we call them dickers because they'll signal or relay all this information back to the unsavories, the enemy, if you like. So it's you can't really vet anyone. Once they're in, they're in. So it's like having an antivirus on a computer, and as soon as you download anything on the computer which gives an app or anything like that, you've just given someone access, whether you like it or not. And you got to be prepared for that sort of subverted other action or other motive once they are in. So yeah, Costa, so you there, Costa? I was going to say, have you had any experience of this sort of thing? I can't hear you, Costa. You must be muted. Okay, no worries.
Or his mic setup isn't working right.
Yeah.
I just got a text from my daughter. She wants to send the grandkids over.
Oh, you're going to let them in?
So I'm going to go here so I can keep an eye on them. So thanks for letting me come up here. And guys, just remember, no situation is the same as any other situation for anybody other than yourself.
Yeah.
Everything's always different. See y'all later.
See you later, girl. Yeah.
See you later.
Keep well, go. Bye-bye.
Yeah, I think you've got to, like we always say every week, it all starts now. Start formulating your sort of plan where you're going to, even the internal layout of the house, for instance, in case something does turn sour, if strangers are inside the house and things turn sour, the layout of your house, all the way through to where you put in your key assets, your key equipment, your supplies, food, water, weapons, etc., where you sleep, where they're going to potentially sleep. I.e., some people I've heard actually provision themselves for extra people that they're going to cater for in case they come across them. I've heard that a few times. Yeah. So, yeah, consider forming a group beforehand. Trust you, surround yourself with people you trust. You got to be aware of your surroundings. Keep an eye out for each other. Form a neighborhood sort of alliance, if you like, so that pre-warning does go out and you get more of a warning before all of a sudden out of the blue someone actually knocks on your door, and then you're sort of into the realms of not so much panic reactions, but you're starting to think on your feet. Then what do? You know, there's 4 of them, and they look quite big blokes, and they've all got hammers, or you know, it's a wife and 2 kids. You know, one of them's a baby. Oh, the baby's bleeding. You know, do we let him in? We're going to be able to live with ourselves after. You know, all this sort of thing should be going through people's minds. But at the end of the day, have you got the resources? Once they're in. It's
another thing that you can do is look at real world examples right now. So if you look at a lot of footage, there's fortunately a lot of footage out there of CCTV cameras where people break into homes and where crimes occur. And you can take a look at the examples of, you know, situations that are happening on the daily if you just subscribe to certain channels. So if you do active self-protection, they used to do a lot more. I don't know if you're familiar with that channel. There's a couple of good channels that do CCTV footage of consistent attacks, public attacks, home invasions, all sorts of things like that. Just look it up on YouTube and you'll come up with like tons of different channels that cover these things. There's a lot of channels that also cover things from the law degree. So channels that cover law instances. It's good to understand from that like perspective how things are done as well. And then not only that, but you can watch crime shows on YouTube. There's a ton of channels that cover like cops badge footage, so you can see how perpetrators act in certain situations as well. And watching a lot of those human engagements also gives you a bit more of a deep understanding as to how, like, you know, real world scenarios do play out, because those are exact real world scenarios that happen like frequently. So just taking like a look at scenarios like that and analyzing things for yourself and having a little bit of foresight in scenarios as well, and just being vigilant is always absolutely the best, you know, the best thing that you can do for yourself and for those around you. Just essentially making the best use of the footage that's out there right now to learn and to just, you know, analyze those situations, and don't just watch them for what they do. Just watch how they play out and watch human behavior, because that's a really good way to be able to understand like people. But even somebody that believes that they can, you know, understand people to a degree, it's actually part of my profession, whatever. But like, even then, it's just, people will always surprise you. You'll never be able to really, even psychologists who have been studying it forever, like, you know, they just consistently get surprised.
Nope, it was dropped off. Yeah, even those the channels and footage he's talking about, you don't even have to watch the explanation of the person doing these videos and analyzing every micro detail of the video. Just watching these videos will build up a good picture of what people are like, definitely. And there's hundreds of them out there as well, which tells a story. You know, it's not a uncommon situation. There's some nasty people out there, definitely. So yeah, I mean, you know, what would your first indication be? Probably if you've got an alarm system on or some sort of infrared beam system, driveway alarm, something like that. That will probably be your first indication. If not, you've got a gate in the garden, that'll probably be the first indication someone going through the gate. Or you might have a security camera if the power is on. The power may not be on; it may be off for weeks at this stage. Hi, Guardian, you just dropped off for a sec there.
Yeah,
instead of pushing the mute button, I pushed leave studio like an
I
idiot.
see.
And I said it at the worst time after speaking, so obviously I hit it as needing to mute. So sorry for that.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah. So yeah, just talking about early indications of when someone's actually approaching and stuff like this. The power may have been out for a while at this stage, and you know, people's resources might have run low, because you could be talking weeks and months into a long-term SHTF when this sort of thing happens, and it may be a continuous event. So if the power is out and you have lost CCTV, or you can't allocate the resources to it because you power in the fridge or whatever, then you might even have someone on guard, standing watch, or someone just being aware or in a position to look out for anyone approaching. Knocks on the door and stuff like that. May not be the front door, maybe the back door, maybe the window. If it is a window and stuff like this, they may have been stood at the window for a while looking in. Pre-recce and stuff like that. Pre-recce stuff before any event happens. Everybody on the planet now has got the ability to access Google Street View. I mean, not all locations have got Google Street View, but if they have and they know you're well off, they know you're a prepper, they know you've got resources there or something they want, or you've got the facility to protect them from any disaster, like, you're in a brick building and there's some sort of fire come in and you're in the clear area, we'll go there because I know he's in a brick building. I know he's got 5 bedrooms and there's only 3 of them, that sort of stuff. So people may have not, even subconsciously built up this picture of each house on your road, and they know the general sort of outline. Yeah, it's so yeah, I think I don't know, the most common situation will probably be people knocking on your door asking for things, asking for things you can spare and things like that, and begging. Probably, I don't know, it depends on the scenario, I suppose. Could be people passing through just asking for a bit of water. Can I give you some water? I know you got a well out the back. And when you're in a scenario like that, and if they say they're passing through and they just want water and they know you've got a well out the back, and you say no,
Yeah.
You're in a confrontational event then straight away where, they say, they start getting aggressive. Yeah, it's only a bit of water, let us in. We'll take what we need and we'll go and be on your way. But, give them an inch to take a mile, and so on and so on. So if you do get in a confrontation with someone, you are overly aggressive.
Hey, Hendo. Good to see you, brother.
Hey, Hendo. Disgruntlement can also be a bad thing, and they could come back with more numbers. They can come back with more weapons, or they know what they need to get in, and so on and so on. But yeah, from the beginning, it's got to be firm but fair. Make it known, definitely. And you got to have a defensive plan from the start. Talk about it now amongst friends and family, or people in your house, flats, or whatever. I think you probably in a flat, it can be a good thing, because especially if you're up above in the top floors, because you've got a bit of a buffer zone there. You've got a bit of extra security if the bottom door is open, locked, but then it's a bit of a double-edged sword, because you can't control access to other people, and if they leave the door open or they're letting people in and just diverting them. Oh yeah, go to the top floor. He's got Shadow's got loads of resources up there. He's the man to speak to. This sort of thing, and it's have a plan to begin with. If you are in flats, I would say speak to people now, get them on the same sort of page, not necessarily in preparedness necessarily, but security sort of aspect to it. And worst case, speak to them once the event's happened, because a lot of people just don't want to know. They don't think it's going to happen, don't think it applies to them, they think it's someone else's problem, and so on and so on. Yeah. I think you've also got to be wary of if someone comes knocking at your door and they're in large groups, and it's pretty obvious they can overpower you if they want. And you're a family of 4, 3.4 kids and a dog, and so on, and you got a biker gang outside with 30 people and they want something, you know, if you get to the point where you're going to cause a confrontation, then there's no way you're going to win anyway. So you got to play it diplomatically. You may, as Gil says, you know, just lie to get you out of the situation.
Yeah.
You may give them a token effort, appeasement prize or whatever they want, but again, it's scenario dependent, and it's I wouldn't go down that route. Definitely not. First choice is, you know, self-preservation, and you don't let anyone in, especially strangers. I mean, we were all taught this as kids. There was always, I think, just about every country in the world had a sort of a "Don't Talk to Strangers" campaign as when we were kids. Same rules. You know, do you want to see some puppies and that sort of thing?
Hello?
Hello, yeah, we can hear you.
Hello.
Hello?
Yep.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh my gosh. Someone doesn't want me to speak.
So how are you, Costa? Do you have you ever come across this sort of scenario? What's your thoughts?
Well, I mean, good evening, everybody. Having some technical issues. Let me
Yeah,
turn.
that happens sometimes.
No, you were right
Well-
just then, Costa. Yeah, you're nice and clear. Yep.
Yeah, you can hear me now. Thank you.
Yeah.
God bless. Yeah, well, strangers living in London, you know, you see strangers a lot because so many people are coming and going. I'm hearing an echo for some reason. Do I turn off
No, you're
my
all right.
laptop?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. So, I mean, even in my block, for example, these are council estate in London. You've got students coming in and out every few months, every 6 months. It's got to the point you don't know who your neighbours are anymore. The ones that have been here for many years, I know them, they know me. But strangers, and someone was saying earlier on the show that they don't trust strangers. They're having problems with immigrants. And this is a major problem. But being a Christian, I just wanted to quickly say something. The Bible does say, remember to entertain strangers, for unknowingly you've entertained angels. So, yes, you've got to be careful, but at the same time, civil, giving people the benefit of the doubt. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
can, brother.
I'm in Camden Town, London. There's tourists here every other day. There's new people walking through the area. I mean, you look at some immigrants and you think he could definitely be a soldier. That one over there could be a warrior. You know, I mean, the environment's changed. So you've got to be very careful with strangers, but you also got to be careful with the people you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Minimum engagement, I'm afraid. It's if we're talking about, you know, there's you go through stages or the potential stages of a long-term SHTF event. You know, the grid's gone down. The shops and supermarkets have been looted and raided. Things are getting smashed up. Things are getting set on fire. People are starting to, you know, there's more movement of people on the streets. Just mute that.
All right, what's going on?
Just mute your mic. Or we'll go deaf. There we go.
Yeah, I think that blew my ear off.
A bit of Sex Pistols feedback there.
Sorry about that.
Yeah. So, you know, you go through the sequence of a potential SHTF scenario, and you've got shops are non-existent anymore. They've been burnt out, looted, smashed up. Government buildings have been smashed up. The police framework has probably collapsed. Government framework, government control have been lost. We're talking about extremes now. There's more of a mass movement of people.
Take
There's
care,
people.
Sandy.
Hey, Sandy, see you later. As people are shifting across, you know, they may be shifting to rural areas and so on. The power may be out. So, you know, this is a sort of extreme sort of cases you could be in, really. And if someone starts going door to door, knocking around and stuff like this, then if you do play the quiet card, they think there is no one in. They're just going to smash their way in and, you know, go for the windows or put something through the letterbox on fire or whatever. So, yeah, have a plan for dealing with them. Make it known that you're not going to entertain it. Make it known about the consequences if they do try and force their way in when it gets to that stage. But it could be the scenario where, you know, if you're actually out and about during SHTF for some reason, you may be going for some water, some supplies, or you may be going to recce. You could be bugging out. You could bump into strangers who are asking for directions. They might ask you. They could be lost. You know, is this way safe? Is that way safe? Where are we? Chance encounters and that sort of thing. So, same rules apply. You know, if they ask you a question, do you engage or not? If you're in a position where you're out in the open, probably, you know, gain something from them as well if need be. Come to some sort of common ground. Hey, Costa. So, what's your dog there then? What's the? Is that CJ?
Yeah, CJ just like doing the security work for us, just keeping an eye on everybody, making sure we're all okay. You okay, CJ? CJ, say hello.
You see, CJ there, he's a nice fluffy boy. Look, here we go.
Indeed.
You see, he's a good asset, you see, because if someone comes to the door, a stranger, and they hear a dog barking, and I don't know if he barks or not, but, you know, that's
oh, yes, he lets them know he's around.
There you go. Excellent asset. There's nothing worse, you know, if someone does start to get to the point where they think they're going to get in, then they've then got to deal with a dog, and a dog doesn't reason when it, you know, if it wants to get you, it's going to get you, sort of thing. And if it goes into attack mode, then you've got a big fluff ball with a set of jaws on there that's going to have you.
And there's also a picture of my dog on the door as well.
Right, there you go.
Just say beware.
Yeah, good one. Yeah,
it's a very good subject. You know, it's very, very, very interesting subject, because in some ways we were talking about that earlier today on the phone, how coalitions are very important, but can be very dangerous and as well, because, you know, if you've miscalculated and you think you're going to go and join forces with a lion and he turns around and kills you, you know, you've miscalculated. So there's a fine line, I guess. I mean, yes, I think someone on the show, someone said earlier, maybe vet them, check them out.
It's very hard to do, isn't it?
How long have you known them?
Yeah. If it's a stranger,
are they reliable? Were they reliable before crap hits the fan? You know, what type of lifestyle did they live? I'm sure I heard somebody earlier saying, you know, if they've got an addiction, be very careful.
Yeah, if it's a stranger, then what is their motive? They'd have probably knocked on the door, for instance, and they would have come out with some sort of opening line. Can you let us in? We need help. Can you spare any food? Their intentions will probably be made known by them initially. So you can almost come up with a predetermined response, really. But you cannot be 100% sure about anybody that's a stranger in times of hardship or SHTF. Anybody
That's
at all.
true, definitely. No, definitely true.
There's been in numerous
seen
cases
those-
in Vietnam where, you know, people have tried to get into camps and so on, and they've subverted them, and next thing you know, the camp's getting mortared or an artillery barrage is coming in because they've got an insider there now and this sort of thing.
Yeah, very hard times.
I mean, if it's if you're out, like I say, and you come across someone inadvertently, and they ask you for directions, for instance, fine, you know, tell them, you know, we've just come that way. We think it's okay that way, but we don't know. If you give someone enough information, you come across them later in the past, and you know, and you've told them to go a certain way, they've gone that way and got ambushed, and then they come across you again. They won't be too happy with you for sending them that way to begin with. So be cautious about what answers you give people. It's a chance encounters. You could also be in a scenario where you have to interact with strangers because you might be in a situation where it's got down to the point where you're bartering with people, for instance. So if you're going to barter with someone, you're bartering with strangers. So your interactions, your conversational skills have to be up to speed. Your personal skills have to be there. You could even
Plus, you've got to be very careful what you tell them that you've got. Maybe just start off with just having a few bits to barter with in the beginning.
Yep.
And not come along with a load of stuff and say, "Hey, I've got all this to barter with." Start off with a few small things.
Exactly.
Like batteries, band-aids.
Yeah.
Hand sanitizer.
Yeah, and Phoebe was talking about cigarettes the other day. How I think PV's reading a book, and in the book it was talking about how cigarettes became more valuable than money.
Yeah, so I'm reading a book at the moment. Well, I just finished it. It's called The Doctor of Hiroshima, and it's the translation of the diary of a Dr. Hachiya, his name is. It's quite a famous book. It's been out a while, and he was saying that the price of cigarettes before the bomb were something like 9 yen, and then after the bomb and the couple of weeks after the bomb, you know, the price of cigarettes went up to 30, 40, 50, up to 90 odd yen plus because of desperation of people, and people were going around just, you know, begging for cigarettes basically because they're that addicted. You know, there's nothing better than a cigarette. There's nothing worse than wanting a cigarette if you haven't had one for a while. So addiction is a, you know, massive thing. And this could be the scenario where people, you know, whether you bump into them on the off chance or they come to you knocking around, you know, just for a fag. We call them fags in Britain, by the way, cigarettes. You know,
oily rags.
Yeah, you know, and be prepared for that. Prepper for the Ages says, do cigarettes go bad? In my experience, they can do, yes. Depends on how they're stored. I used to smoke, and we used to, you know, on various deployments, first one in Bosnia, for instance, where we had some cigarettes from the local supply chain that come through, the NAFI, and the cigarettes didn't taste quite right, and because they were stored and they were subject to damp, moist conditions for a while, and they just tasted off. So yeah, cigarettes do they can be tainted.
Yeah, you need to store them properly.
Yeah, I think a key scenario with this sort of situation, Shadow, is right. Has anyone seen? There's a key clip. It's communications basically on the radio. So you could be hunkered down, door locked. You've got your radio on. You're listening to information. You're trying to get contact with people. You're trying to assess what's gone on, how many's been killed, will it get better, and so on and so on. And the situation, I'll give you a scenario. There's a series called Fear the Walking Dead. I don't know if anyone's seen it, but it's a spin-off from The Walking Dead. Anyway, when they're on they extract on a boat, basically, a big super yacht. And they've got access to this radio, and the girl on the boat, she's lonely, she's a teenager and so on, and she hears this voice on the radio, and she gets talking to this stranger on the radio, and eventually the bloke on the other end builds up a bit of a relationship, a bit of a rapport on the radio over a period of days, and over that period of days, through casual conversation, she lets them know where they're heading, where they are, what they've got on board, how long they can sustain themselves, etc., etc. And they haven't even let anyone in yet. They're giving away key information, and it turns out that these people on the other end of the radio aren't actually friendly at all, and they eventually make contact, and they raid them, and the ship gets attacked basically, and they end up scuttling the ship in the end. But the key point is, if you have got a radio in your Radio Shack, or you've got some handheld radios, you're hunkered down, you're nice and safe, etc., etc., you don't know who is on the other end of that radio. If someone calls you and they're calling blind, or you're calling blind, you may be calling them through desperation, not knowing what's happening, or you're wanting to know an update on the situation. But you got to watch what you say. Our treasured home, hello.
Good to see you, man.
I did a specific video on this, where what you say in the radio is monitored and will be monitored by every Tom, Dick, and Harry out there with a radio, and they'll be after your location, your intentions, your strengths, your supplies, your effectiveness as a group, etc., etc., and they'll take you for all you're worth. They may not even know where you live, but at some point in the future, if they're constantly listening to you yapping on the radio, then they can quickly deduct and fathom out where you are. So just be aware of that. So talking on the radio is another way of giving away your situation, compromising yourself, basically.
We spoke about that, learning how to use code words.
Yeah, so that was in the same video. I think the use of code words, if you have to talk on the radio, but with the use of code words, you're talking. You use code words with people on a specific sort of link. So your part of your group or family or location might have gone out on a recce or a supply run or whatever, and you pre-arrange those code words. So if you are talking to someone, always be aware that someone else is listening. But if you're talking to strangers on the radio, like I said, they will say anything and do anything to get you to reveal various bits of information.
Yep, I agree. People are going to become very ruthless, and they're going to want to grab anything you got. In times of desperation, you see it in some movies where they're using a young girl to sort of do the hitchhiking, and as soon as the car stops, people jump out the bushes, hijack the people that have stopped.
Classic.
So it looks like a little girl. Oh, look, I'm in trouble, vulnerable.
Yep. And they could even do that at the door as well. The little girl's at the door on their own. And as soon as you open it or whatever, because it's only a little girl, then, half the tribe gets out the bushes and jumps you, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So.
I was robbed once. I was helping someone out who was homeless, and they were addicted to heroin. I helped them out, helped them to start getting off the heroin, took them to church, gave them a place to stay for a while. And what happened was, I went out one day, come back, bottle of wine was taken, a sleeping bag, my guitar, and the guy left. So I contacted the police, said, this guy robbed my house. I was helping him out. So even if you're trying to do a good deed, you can get stung. And these days, it's just a few bits of my stuff, but in a really bad situation, you could lose everything.
Yeah, I agree with that. But you learn something from that.
Yeah.
That is a good point. You learn from that.
Yeah. Just so at a glance, as just said there, I've just found out a few days ago my bones in my feet are degenerating. So I'm going to be purchasing
Oh, wow.
my first defensive tool soon. So just in case, if the worst comes to the worst, I won't be completely defenseless. All right. Well,
It sounds like
hope everything
Wow.
goes well for you at a glance and pick the right tool. Yeah. A tough situation.
Yeah, and learn how to use it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, practice.
Learn to handle it properly, or otherwise you can hurt yourself.
Yeah. I think we've got to be prepared to switch mindsets in events as they get worse, or you've got to adapt the situation. I always say this: adaptation is the key to survival. If you don't adapt, you're going to succumb. Same with this sort of scenario. You've got to adapt to a situation where you are then limiting who you're talking to, interacting with, etc., etc. You need a specific set of attitudes to keep you on track. If you don't, you can be blindsided, conned, and and that's it. Like I say, when they're in, they're in. You get a lot of.
It's true. Yeah.
It's an old prison scenario where prisoners will subvert people into doing favors for people. Look after this for us, or can I look after that for you, etc., etc., or I'll look after you, come with me, sort of thing. And then at later points down the line, they say, they use that as if they've done you a favor. I looked after you before.
Yeah.
You owe me one, sort of thing. Be aware of that situation, and you're inadvertently.
Hey, Darren, good to see you,
Darren
brother.
Dobson, hello. You're inadvertently sort of giving yourself a noose to hang yourself with, almost. So don't promise what you can't deliver. Don't promise anything. Watch what you say. Let them do the talking if they have to. Don't even talk to them. Don't interact with them. The more you interact with them, the more of a hook they've got. The more the chance they've got to draw you into their scenario, and get you where they want you to be. So as Gil said earlier, if someone doesn't want to talk, body language is everything. Learn how to read people. Although it can be a bit more difficult in a stressful situation, SHTF situation, because people may act differently. Avoiding eye contact, crossed arms, clenched jaws, tense shoulders, frowning, being nervous looking, are they dressed differently to everybody else that's out and about? All this sort of thing. So how they're standing and this sort of stuff. Do they look dehydrated? Do they actually look malnourished or in need of the supplies they're asking for, if they're asking for supplies? So, people may not have the same intentions or views as you have. That's the key thing. Their goals might be different. So, Durrell's popped off there.
Yeah.
So subversion. And they may not even want to get you supplies. They may want to kidnap you for their sort of reasons. They may want to get in there, kill you, and take the women. It's all scenario dependent, but yeah. He's back. I think the big thing when it comes to strangers is, mean, when you're in a house or you're in your place of where you live, it's probably the easiest scenario, because all you've got to do is you've got to act and communicate with someone through the point of entry or through a window. That's fairly simple to do. Fairly simplistic set of rules to go by. But it gets harder when you're not in your house. You could be in a scenario where you've bugged out and you're in your, let's say you're in a camper van, for instance, in a sort of remote location, and someone comes knocking, or you hear people, or these strangers. How do you deal with someone then? Your actions could be, we're off, jump in the driver's seat and just drive off. Don't even bother acting with them, because you just don't know who these people are, what they're capable of. If they do get disgruntled, you're in a vulnerable position. They could let your tires down, they could slash your tires, and then you're not going anywhere. It's sort of a keep scenario then.
Hey, Huga. Hey,
Huga.
Good to see you.
You could be in a boat. That you could be living on a boat. Your bug out location could be a boat. If you turn someone away, or and they get disgruntled, the easiest thing they can do is cut your mooring lines, for instance.
Yeah.
And you're off off with the tide, the current, the wind, etc., etc.
Yeah.
So location, be in a position where no one can easily come to your boats, for instance, anchor offshore or moor up in a place that's inaccessible, or put your mooring lines in a place which is inaccessible, or drop anchor as well, this sort of stuff as a contingency.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Various sort of scenarios, I suppose. But the radio is a good sort of indirect route with strangers, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I agree with that.
If they're wearing a plate vest carrier, but they're wearing it badly, that's a telltale sign as well. Right, yeah. I mean, some people, if they're wearing certain piece of equipment, or they have certain piece of equipment, it doesn't look like they're wearing it properly. They may have nicked it from someone else. They may have killed someone to get it. So they're putting on a sort of a ruse, really. Even someone as Guardian Fitness said earlier, someone turning up dressed smartly, who looks the part, or is with friends and family, or a wife and kids, or woman and kids and stuff. They just may not be who they are. Like I said, they will do absolutely anything when you're desperate to gain entry. Yeah, Darren Dobson says, hey, you don't have to win the argument, just walk away. Exactly. Same with these people. I mean, I was in a town last month, and we're walking along, and this complete stranger, this woman, a middle-aged woman, and a bloke was sat on this park bench, and she turned around and she says, excuse me, have you got 50 pence I can have? I thought, I just said no, and just carried on walking. That's it. 50p. Who asked for 50p? That's £0.50, in case people don't know what that is. It's a bit of a bizarre denomination. It's a bit of a bizarre request these days. Or, a classic one. Have you got a light? And it's an easy way. Or have you got the time? Most people have got watches. Most people have got phones. It's an easy way for people to instigate sort of a conversation and engagement. So if you don't know them, if you're in an unfamiliar area, you could be bugging out, etc. Just don't engage, say no, sorry, and just move on, or just move on. Don't even talk to them. It depends, I suppose. It all depends. I mean, we could be the people knocking on people's doors, asking for help and so on. I think it was a film. I'll go back to a film.
Which one?
Trying to think of the name. It'll come to me in a minute. Hold that thought. I'll Google it.
Darren says, the less people know or see, the safer you are. I agree with that at 100%. $600 Canadian for a plate carrier. Oof. That's expensive.
Right, yeah. Scenario: Denzel Washington, The Book of Eli, and
Book of Eli. I have that DVD.
Right, there you go. They knock on someone's house.
Yep.
And it turns out that the two old people in the house, they let them in. They offer them cups of tea and stuff like this. But they find out later that the cups of tea are tainted with poison. I think this is the right film. And their intentions are they're probably going to eat them because they've run out of supplies, and cannibalism is the way these old people are surviving. So, if you are the person knocking on someone else's door, you are the stranger, then be aware, because you don't know who that other person on the other side of the door is. It's just like The Road as well.
Yeah.
Where the situation where they had people living under the floorboards that they were using to eat. This sort of scenario, it's a bit extreme, but the basic point is you don't know the intentions of the person on the other end of the door as well. So, but I mean, if you are in a situation where there's no other alternative other than to interact with these people, whether you're a victim, you want help, or it's a short-term scenario and you're going to help someone, then you probably have to establish sort of some sort of common ground, some sort of conversation point thereafter, weigh them up or whatever. Then you're into the act of engagement then. So be aware, Yeah. You just don't know. I mean, we've had instances where I am now where, 10 o'clock at night, people have been knocking on the window. So they've obviously gone through the driveway, knocking on the window. Help, help, I need an ambulance. My friend down the road, he's had an accident. Classic one. And,
that's a classic.
There's no SHTF event happening. It's it could be a ruse to get you to open the door, get them, come in. And the next thing you know, you're getting robbed. So, everyone's got a phone these days. You phone him yourself, or right, stay there. I'll phone him for you inside. And you do it behind a door or behind windows and stuff like this. So there are means and ways you can do that sort of thing if infrastructure exists, and you can help, like the short-term scenario. But in the long term, when resources are an issue, safety is an issue, there's no infrastructure, police aren't much good anyway, but there's no medical aid available and all this sort of stuff. The society is on the verge of collapse or has collapsed, then it's literally a case of everyone for themselves. Person who's got the most guns wins, this sort of stuff. So why are they out there this far into SHTF? Move along. You're not wanted. I suppose if you are and this is a sort of another scenario, if you are in a remote area and you're in a remote homestead, whether it be in the middle of the desert in Australia or in a remote homestead in Canada or America or wherever it is, then you've really got to think about what you're doing then. If you've got no backup whatsoever to call upon, because you might be part of a group or a conglomerate of other homesteads, then you've got to deal with it there and then. You could be in a case of the keep scenario where there's people just sat outside, wait. I say, all right, okay, if you're not going to help me, I'll sit outside and wait. Fine, sit there. Yeah. So if you're into a sort of a scenario where it's gone long term, and you're a couple of weeks into it, and people turn up your house and you're in a remote area, how have they got there to begin with?
Yeah,
they've
is
endured.
a good question.
They've endured X amount of weeks of SHTF, and they've made their way to a remote house, homestead somewhere, where they've got the water. How have they kept themselves going? Have they got some sort of support network? Is there anyone else with them that we don't see that can help them and bolster them up in this sort of stuff? Yeah. And of course, if you're in that sort of situation where you are living in that sort of area, then you've probably got, I would suggest, live simple, live within your means. You've probably got, I would suggest, some sort of early warning system. Whether it be cameras, IR beams, noise making things, tin cans on barbed wire or whatever, or best case scenario, some sort of human guard or a dog or geese. They make good early warning makers.
Oh, yeah.
Then fine. You can start mustering people and waking people up and, getting everyone ready to act. You wake everyone up, there's someone at the door. Be ready to act in case it turns bad. So, but, in that sort of scenario, people need, it's manpower intensive. You do need a lot of people to do a constant, sort of guard rotation. You can't keep awake forever. 2 on 4 off, 4 on 6 off, 2 on 2 off, 12 on 12 off, wherever people's situation is. It's a disciplined thing. It's a pre-arranged thing. You need pre-training and this sort of stuff. You need not to be complacent, especially when you're a couple of weeks into a scenario where you're having to protect or maintain watch over somewhere. And even the best of people, they'll be complacent. You'll get people falling asleep and so on. And the last thing you want is to be blindsided and waking up because you've fallen asleep, someone banging on the door saying, "Can you help me?" And they've caught you by surprise, as opposed to the other way around. You should be ready for them when they come and knock at the door, not the other way around. So.
Karen says, only person knocking on my door is Jehovah's. Nice people, but not interested. Jehovah's has knocked on my door before, but I haven't seen them for many years now.
Yeah, same here. I mean, we, I think it's now against the law in Britain for cold callers. People can't just come to the door canvassing or selling things door to door anymore here. But that doesn't matter anyway, because if it gets to the point of desperation or social collapse or riots or any sort of SHTF event anyway, no one's going to be bothered about that sort of stuff. The law is going to be busy and consumed with other things. So it's a case of, you look after yourself, whether it be you in your own household or as a street. Because you people could be in a situation where there's one road into their sort of group of houses and one road out, and they could have come to a pre-arranged plan where the whole street looks after the access to that road. So it's a case of you dealing with people, strangers, having access to the road, for instance. That could be the scenario. It's yeah.
I was thinking about something else. Let's say if you need water and you ask for water from another person you don't know who he or she is,
Yeah.
and they say, okay, you can have some water from us if you can have. We need some medical. We need some band-aids, bandages, things like that for the water. Fine
Yep.
with me, but that is a little bit of what do you call it? Warning sign.
Yeah, you're
It might
beholden.
not be. It might not be. They might be okay, but what they can do, they give you the water, you give them what they want, but the water is poisoned.
Right. Yeah, I mean,
And then
if
you screw,
you're
then they take your stuff.
if you're going to be asking for water, then you've either got to the point where you're desperate. So, in other words, you're two days into it, probably with no water already. Yeah, it's well, put it this way: if you got to the point where you run out of water and you've got no ability to get water, or there's no likelihood to get water, or you've got no facility to make the water drinkable or potable, then you're going to be dead in 3 days anyway. So you either take the risk of what they're offering you or go longer and potentially die anyway. So, yeah. Well, yeah, like I say, if it's a short-term scenario, drink it. Medical aids later on could probably sort you out. And it's been done in the past where people drunk infested water or contaminated water and so on, and they've picked up a bug or they've been poisoned and stuff like this, and medical intervention later on has cured them. No problem. The key point is they've got the water down them and they've kept themselves alive, which is number one priority. But if it's a case of you're beyond the 3 day points to access any other water, different scenario.
Yeah.
So at a glance, if bartering for meds, how do I even know they haven't tampered with the date on the bottle? Then that's a loss too, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We said earlier. I mean, I've heard of people, preppers on YouTube and so on, talking about setting aside an amount of preps for barter or to actually give to people in SHTF when they come knocking at the door. That's in people's plans. So fine, if that's the way they want to play it, that's the way they want to play it. But if you give someone a token effort item, then you probably got to make it known that that's all you got left, that's all you can spare, etc., etc. But you're in a difficult situation then because you're in a reasoning situation, and that you start getting into the scenario where the other person might say, but it's only 2 of you and you've got 3 months supply, can't you just give us some more? And and it starts getting a bit nasty. Then you're starting to go down the road of confrontation. But if you're in an exchange situation where you're bartering things and you're swapping med supplies in exchange for water, for instance, then what you got to lose. If you don't get that water, you're going to be dead in 3 days. Where else are you going to get the water from? So are you injured? No, give them. You're not really. If it comes to water, you're not really in a position to bargain because, like I say, you're in the 3 day time slot then of going downhill rapidly. But if you're bartering for something else, then it's a matter of priorities, I think. Another scenario, another film was a recent one. It wasn't Don't Look Up. It was. I'll have to Google that. It was a scenario. You'll probably name the film in a minute. On the trailers of the film, there's a big oil tanker coming to. Costa's back. There's a big oil tanker coming towards the beach, and they were looking at it, thinking, "What's happening?" Anyway, later on in the film, they discover that this bloke's son has got radiation poisoning, and the only person in the vicinity who's got the treatment for this poisoning is this prepper that they've seen stock up beforehand. And they go to his house. So they knock at the door and they plead with the guy at the door. My son's ill. He's got radiation poisoning or whatever it is. His teeth have fallen out. You've got the medication that I need to help him out. You're not sick. Your son's not sick. So you obviously can spare it. Can you give us the medication? And they come into a confrontation. You know, the bloke initially says, "There's no way I'm giving you the medication. It's mine. It's all I've got left, and that's it. The supply chain's broken, etc." And then he starts pointing shotguns at them, and they have a face off. Anyway, they come to some sort of arrangement where they do reason with the guy, and they get the medication. But that's the type of scenario people could be faced with, really. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll think of the film in a second.
Yeah, it will pop up.
So yeah. Yeah, so the film was called Leave the World Behind.
Okay.
That was the film. Just looking at who the prepper was. It was Kevin Bacon. Yeah, Kevin Bacon was the prepper. Yeah. And the lads went to the house. They went to the house because they had radiation poisoning. They needed this medication, and they had the classic scenario. What you're talking about there? Stranger turned up to a house. The guy didn't stay behind the door. The prepper bloke came out with a shotgun, squared off to him straight away, and made it known that they weren't getting in. But problem was, they didn't. He obviously didn't know. He could have been in the scenario where there's a sniper in the bushes or someone else waiting to take him out while he stood outside the house. So, probably the worst thing you can do is go out and engage with these people, or open the door and engage with these people. Probably better off talking through the door, through an intercom system, through a camera system, or an upstairs window, or something like that, or even through a loud hailer or something. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, bartering with things and people are offering you things. You just don't know, what the efficacy or the how valued
The
that
quality,
the quality of those goods are that they're giving you. Yeah, it might be okay on the outside, but it could be poisoned, could be booby trapped.
Yeah.
And so on. It could have hidden devices in there, whatever. Depends how paranoid you get, but that's the sort of situation you could be dealing with, and so on. So, yeah. I mean, people could be dealing with things that aren't human. What I mean by that is they could be dealing with drones flying over the house, looking in. I mean, who would have thought these days that? Who would have thought 10 years ago that they'll be using drones to kill people on the battlefield, just like they're doing in Ukraine versus Russia? Who's to say that drones aren't going to be used to pre-recce a location or a house or whatever. So if you're sat there in a little courtyard and you're a nice little compound, you're looking up and you see a drone, then it could be an indication someone's on their way. Someone's just seeing you out in the garden with lying in your swimming pool, or watching you drink at your well, or
a drone on scouting mission.
Yep, exactly. And then they turn up at your door, and you say, I haven't got anything for you. And they say, don't lie, because we've seen you on the drone. We know you've got a big stash of equipment around the back. We know you've got a generator. We know you've got meat. We saw you cooking it on the barbecue with our drone, this sort of stuff. So these days, you've got to be very wary. You've got to look up as well these days. And some of these drones are silent. They could be literally 30 foot away and you won't hear them. Depending on the wind, of course. But yeah, be very wary. But yeah, that's it really. I mean, it could be worse if you are, in a house or anything like that. Normal house or flat or a normal place in the city, wherever. Normally, you've got visual scope to look out 360 degrees. Normally, you might be in a semi-detached house, so So if people's plans are, if they've got some sort of shelter somewhere or bunker or anything like this, which people have, and it's a longer term SHTF situation, your only visual sort of access to the outside world may be through one sort of slit through the walls. It may be through one camera and so on like this. Maybe through one doorway. So you got to be, you're a sitting duck basically. And if someone disgruntled decides that they're going to come back and try and burn you out or smoke you out or whatever, or drown you out or whatever, then it's something you got to think about, because the moment someone comes knocking and you turn them away, they are then immediately a potential enemy if they go away not satisfied with the answer they've got. So they may sit there and wait because there's no other alternative. They've run out of water. The next available water point to their knowledge is more than 3 days away. They'll just sit there and wait. They may sit there and wait till night time, set fire to something and throw it through the window, or they may try and block up your ventilation holes if you're in some sort of bunker, for instance, and all these sorts of scenarios have got to be thought about, really.
Yeah, and when it comes to drones, I was just thinking about one thing. If a drone comes flying over your house, a drone has a limited range, because if you can see the size of the drone, you can probably do some math that the range it has, and you can probably find the operator for the drone.
Yeah, I mean, drones have come a very long way these days.
Hey, grumpy old guy, good to see you, brother.
Hello, grumpy old guy. Drones have come a long way, definitely, in the last couple of years, and they're evolving all the time. And the way that people are controlling them and the range, etc., is being developed and enhanced all the time. Even in a house, if you're hunkered down in some sort of long-term SHTF event or scenario, whatever, if someone is controlling a drone from 500 meters away, does it matter? Because you're probably not going to be able to see them anyway. If they are behind the tree line 200 meters away, or they are in a house 3 streets away, you're not going to be able to act on that, because it will mean you going out then and making yourself more vulnerable. So unless anyone's got some sort of jamming device or a device that takes down drones, you know, you can't really sort of stop them. You know, you can shoot them out the sky. If they're in range, you can throw rocks at them, sticks at them, fire nets up there, catapults, etc., to try and down them. Or you know, if you've got a trained eagle and so on, you know, fine. People have done that before, but yeah, if they can control a drone from 300 meters away, then you're probably not going to be able to see them. It could be anywhere really. So yeah, but the thing is, you'll know that they are in the immediate vicinity. That's a good point to think about. Yeah. Costa's giving us thumbs up there. You there, Costa? But for the short-term scenario, you know, like I don't know, floods, tornado, wildfire, stuff like this, you probably will expect people to be on the move, escaping the event, even, you know, volcanic eruptions and stuff like this. Animal attacks, it could be a storm surge or localized earthquake. But if that is a localized event and it's a short-term scenario, or you deem it to be a short-term scenario, then fine. You know, you're probably more likely to help people out in that scenario because normality is going to come back at some point. You know, we're all duty bound in peacetime to respond to people's calls of distress and things like this. Adriel?
Hey guys.
Hey.
Yeah, so I was saying,
Yeah,
Costa,
sorry
you know,
about that. I had a phone call and I had to take the dog out.
Okay, no problem.
We were just saying that. Go on, sorry.
Yeah, PV was telling me the other day that we can't multitask.
Yeah, multitasking is impossible. Your brain can only do one thing at any one time. You know, the driving scenario. People, you know, you see often.
That's my excuse.
You have to see people on the phone or texting and things like this, and they've calculated now through various studies that you get a sort of brain lag, and it takes up to like 29 odd seconds before you start to build up the picture again of what you're looking at out the window, and building up the picture of what's actually happening because of this brain lag. You know, we're literally like computers. You either do one thing or another. And when you start dividing your attention between one or the other, this sort of brain lag kicks in, and you get this sort of vision attention blindness. So up to 20 to 29 seconds later, you're still comprehending and building up this mental subconscious picture of what's happening, and you get distracted. So yeah, multitasking isn't good for the human. Grumpy old guy says, I'm beginning to think I don't want to live in your neighborhoods. I keep my natural disasters down to the occasional thunderstorm and blizzard. Well, I'm just putting out some scenarios there. I mean, I don't live in a wildfire area. I don't live in a tornado zone or landslide area, stuff like this. I think the most likely natural disaster I'll probably get
floods.
I'm not, well, at the moment, I'm not even in a flood zone, so I'm on a bit of a hill. Snowstorm, maybe. You know, no. I've always said Britain's one of the safest countries in the world in terms of natural disasters, because we don't really get much. We get the odd wind event or ice event and this sort of stuff, but
maybe some thunderstorms too.
Yeah, I mean, compared to other countries, we don't get half of what other countries get at all. I mean, there's loads of floods going on at the moment in Eastern Europe. There's been big tornado in China that's just happened. Mount Etna's erupted in Italy. You know, there's events happening all the time, and people are playing out these scenarios for real. And we're just sort of talking about them, but yeah.
Here we have hurricanes, we can have thunderstorms, snowstorms, we can have flood. It's here.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and we can even have some small earthquakes, but they are so small, so
Yeah.
they doesn't affect us that much, really.
No. It's the things that blindside us. It's the things that blindside us, to which will probably catch us out. I mean, people can go through various scenarios and do a sort of a threat assessment on their location, and they're fairly up to speed. You know, they've thought about certain events, they've prepared for certain events, but the things that will blindside you, the quick flash events that you completely disregarded, are the ones to really look out for, I suppose. But at the end of the day, you know, we said this various times on various episodes here. You know, various events have common effects. So one of the, you know, the most common effects through various scenarios, whether it be through flood, riot, volcanic eruption, all the way through to, I don't know, meteor strike, plane crashes, train crashes, etc., is grid down. Yeah, because the grid is quite a fragile system, very fragile. So these common sort of events people have got to look at. So Kellen says we have flooding going on in northern Iowa. Right, I'm in central Iowa. We had a huge flood in '93. Right, I saw a couple of bits of footage from the flooding recently. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, people see these events on TV and social media and stuff, and they think, "Oh, yeah, no, that's an interesting bit of video," but they don't really comprehend what's happening in the wider terms in that video. You know, and in the wider scale of things, people have died, lost their houses, all their possessions, completely flooded out, burnt out, destroyed. You know, hurricane destruction, tornado destruction, so on and so on. And these people. Then it's not just a quick fix. It's they're talking weeks, months, if not years, of getting their lives back on track after they've lost everything. You know, best case scenario, if they are insured and they are up to speed on various things, then fine. You know, they've survived. They may not have any possessions because it may have been destroyed, but at least they're going to get something back off the insurance company, hopefully. You know what insurance companies are like. It's a bit of a gamble. You know, you hope it's a bit of a peace of mind having insurance, but if something happens, you start claiming, you then hope that they actually play ball and give you the money. So,
yeah.
You know, it's ridiculous, but yeah, people.
I've got a funny one for you guys.
Go on it.
If you could put up a one-sentence notice board to ward off any would-be dangerous strangers, what would it be? One sentence. Stay away from here. We're full of dangerous people would be mine.
For me, it would be probably stay out, biohazard.
I'll probably, well, I don't know. I'll start with keep out and then something else to go with it. Keep out, PV lives here.
Yeah, beware, CJ lives here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Beware of CJ.
Well, I mean, if you're if you're in a scenario dependent again, if you're in a pandemic situation where it's a proper.
Oh yeah, that's a good one, PV. I know what you're going to say.
If it's proper killer, and you got
contamination, stay away.
Mortality rate of 5-10% plus, which is probably all it would take to bring down the system. Then you could put biohazards or contaminated, or put a mark on the door or something like that to put people off. There's nothing better than let's take COVID for instance. If COVID was more of a visual thing, if people started to bleed out their eyes, nose, and mouth, ears, and so on, a lot of people would have acted differently. And if if a looter starts going around or starts knocking on people's houses and they see any sort of indication
from the ears, nose, mouth, eyes.
Any sort of indication that that place is contaminated, the last thing you want to do is go in there.
Sure. Imagine if you've only got brown sauce left in the cupboard.
So it'd be scenario dependent. Any sort of chemical event, nuclear event, you could likewise put it down. Contaminated area. You could even duplicate the triangles that the warning triangles that.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
Are a universal sign. The various universal indicators to depict radiation. There's a white, yellow, and green triangle. I think it's green. It's an upside down triangle. So a white one with atom written on it.
Yeah.
Would indicate, radiation. And so a yellow one for chemical and stuff like this. Minefield, for instance, mined. Who in their right mind will go into a mined area? You just wouldn't, would you? Especially with the risk of there's no access. You're at the point in time where there's no evacuation, there's no medical care, there's no infrastructure whatsoever. You're not going to risk going into a minefield. It'd be complete madness.
Outside my flat, I put a notice up saying CCTV in operation, but there ain't no cameras.
Right, that's another one, you see. So yeah, you can call people's bluff and hope they adhere to it. But at the point in time, if someone susses it out, then they'll know everything's a facade and everything's a ruse.
Yeah.
So
I just put BK9K bar backup.
So people have got to be aware of that sort of thing. It could backfire on people, like minefields. I mean, the old mine situation has been used in many theatres of operation. Right? Yeah. I mean, all it takes is you put a minefield sign up there, for instance, and the person going door to door's got a dog. Yeah. The dog runs off the lead, runs through the supposed minefield, doesn't get blown up and say, hey,
you're unstuck.
It's a big.
What a lucky dog!
Yeah, it's a big ruse. So.
Or beware of booby traps.
Yeah. Likewise, if you put radiation signs up and the people are going around, they got Geiger counters, for instance, or dosimeters. And they know there's nothing there, then what you're hiding, sort of thing. So,
is that are you writing a book there, PV? The Art of Deception.
Yeah, yeah. Well, there's that Chinese one's. There's a famous Chinese book, that isn't it? The Art of War, and it goes on about deception.
The Art of War, yeah.
Well, I've seen this sort of thing happen. Bosnia was a classic. Various ruses and stuff like this, but yeah. Yeah, fake security cameras. You can buy fake security cameras, but to be honest,
yeah,
if you are concerned with security, you're probably just better off buying a security camera, because they're that cheap these days. A dummy one will probably cost just as much as a normal security camera, you know what I mean?
True, nowadays they're well cheap.
Yeah, cheap. I mean, in Britain,
you get tiny little cameras as well. You can get cameras that look like rocks.
Yep.
Cameras that look like little bushes, limbs on trees.
when it comes to security cameras, you probably want to indicate. You probably don't want to hide a security camera because it's another deterrent. So having a hidden camera or cameras in rocks will probably defeat the object of a deterrent. You want something out of reach, high up somewhere that can't be tampered with, but can be seen. And you could even put signs up saying CCTV in operation, and they'll see the sign, then they'll start looking around the outside of the property, and say, "Oh, right, there it is." There. Likewise, burglar alarms and stuff like this is you want something on the outside of the house. I mean, most houses with burglar alarms fitted, they will have a sort of burglar alarm box on the outside of the house, high up, with some sort of flashing light on it at night, so people know you've got a burglar alarm. And likewise, your dog as well. If you've got a dog, you could put a sign up saying "Beware of dog." I live here, with a big nasty picture of a dog growling and stuff like this. It's it all adds up to the picture of security, and it shows people would be intruders and strangers and stuff that you've thought about it and you've got measures in place. So yeah, I personally wouldn't have any fake cameras. I'd get a real one. Like I say, they're so cheap. Yeah. But yeah, if you're locked yourself away, it could be in the middle of the night. You might not even. This is the other scenario. So you might not even know there's an SHTF or disaster scenario happening. It could be in the middle of the night, and some strangers banging on your door, and they're banging on your door, and they're saying, "Oh, I'll just read this." Fake cameras are cheap. I've used them in the past, but in time, repeat visitors get wise. Yeah. Using visible dummies with working hidden cameras is worth considering. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, in the middle of the night, you could be in a situation where you're not even aware that there's a disaster going on. So the first thing you know about it is, you come to work, you go to bed, 1 a.m, someone's banging on your front door, and they're shouting and screaming, saying, there's a wildfire coming, or there's a flood just down the road. Get out, or let me in because I'm about to die, sort of thing, or there's someone chasing me, etc., etc. So, you're then into a time constraint. You've got to act quick, but you can't obviously just open the floodgates and let the person in. You got to validate that information. So check the information, make sure it is valid information.
Hey, Howie, good to see you, brother.
Check the news feed, check social media feeds, etc., etc. Confirm what's going on. You may even have to call the police, fire, ambulance, and even speak to them or the operator. They may be in the know, if the event is that widespread or happening that quick and destructive. So confirm first before you do anything. Don't open the door and ask, what's happening. Quite a common criminal act these days in Britain is people want access to the keys to your car, because rather than break into the car, they'll break into your house, your porchway, or somewhere like that, and they'll just go straight to your keys, or they'll force their way in and force you to tell them where the keys are. That's all they want. They want the keys and then want to get away, get in the car and jump off. And likewise, there in the other situation, don't let them in. And no matter how many times you say it to various people, relatives, etc., do not let anyone in. Do not open the doors to strangers, etc., etc. They still do it. They still do it. Because if you're not there, you're asleep or whatever, person who isn't as savvy as you are, they can quite easily fall into the trap of getting talked into it and stuff like this. Yeah. Happens all the time, and people fall foul of this all the time. Yeah. Like I said, it's
yeah, because the stranger seems to be so nice and polite and things like that, and they
Yeah.
fall for that because as soon as they get in and they sit in your sofa and you get some coffee in the kitchen, when you come back, they pull the gun on you.
Yep, exactly. Like I said, people will say and do anything to open the door if they're in that sort of scenario. Right, yeah. So Callan Strain there. So we was talking about radio just now and communications, and this is another sort of thing that people got to be aware of is the fact that you don't talk to. Well, you can talk. You know, if you've got a radio and you're talking to someone and you engage with someone on the radio, watch what you say because you're still dealing with strangers and they can still gain information from your conversation. And we said earlier, the classic example was the scenario on the boat with the series called Fear the Walking Dead. That was a classic scenario with that sort of thing. And in the end, they lost the boat, got ambushed, and people died and stuff. But same sort of thing in reality, you know, electronic warfare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can. The problem with radios is you can jam them if you know how to do it.
Yeah, you got the jamming scenario as well. Jamming, deception, all this sort of stuff. Information gathering, or prior to, you know, physical engagement. So if whoever, you know, it could be. There's various sort of precepts. You got either the person who has built up a picture already and knocking on your door wanting things or wanting access or wanting to swap or barter or wanting information or a simple question. You know, these people may have predetermined, they may have information gathered beforehand via, if you've been talking on the radio and stuff. Or you may get the opportunistic person who's desperate, who's passing through, and he's in a life threat, or she or the group is in a life-threatening situation, and they want immediate help because they may be being chased by someone. And if a little kid's knocking on the door and they're shouting and screaming and crying because they're saying they're being chased by a gang that want to kill them or take them away, and you look down the other end of the street and there's a horde of whatever people running after and they want that kid, that time constraint straight away. What do? Do you believe the kid? Is the kid going to be that much of a threat? If you don't do anything and the crowd gets the kids and the family from the kid comes back and blames you and all this sort of stuff, and it starts getting messy, and there's a lot of things to think about, a lot of moving parts. Food porridge, permaculture, the zombies. Yes, we've all seen the zombie films where the classic example.
Dead, Fear of the Walking Dead, Resident Evil.
Yeah, the classic example where you're barricading yourself into a situation, they all come banging and stuff like this. You get the lone person running away from a horde of zombies, and do you let them in? Don't you let them in? I mean, in some cases, fine. In some cases, letting someone in can be a good thing because people could be quite willing to sacrifice supplies. If you've got enough supplies to feed 2 people for 3 months, someone else comes on the scene wanting you to take them in and be part of your group. You could sacrifice your supplies, so you haven't actually got 3 months left. You're dwindling it down to a month and a half, 2 months between 3 of you now. You could sacrifice that for the extra manpower that you're gaining. So, you're gaining not only physical manpower, you're gaining strength in numbers. You got extra ability to defend yourself. Right, Duril says his battery's died. Yeah, no worries,
Okay,
Duril.
no problem.
So you could actually be gaining things. You could be, the person may not be a complete stranger. You may know him as the doctor from the doctor surgery you go to. It could be the dentist
exactly.
you go to once a year. You don't really know the person, but he's a dentist, and he's got valuable skills that you need or you may want. You may even use it to your advantage, where you could use the person as a bartering tool, because we've got a dentist, you've got a doctor, let's swap patients and stuff like this. So
those would be very valuable for you. Very.
Yeah.
And you need to protect those who are dentists, doctors, nurses.
Yeah, I mean, that's another sort of weird one, that is. I've thought about this. I mean, we'd all like to have a dentist on our team or a doctor on our team. But actually, if you think about it, in a real long-term scenario, are they actually going to be that good, that effective, and that contributable to your group? You could argue that they won't be, because what can a doctor do? A doctor is only as good as the diagnosis equipment that he's got. Once you've diagnosed a problem, what can you do in SHTF? Have you got access to anesthetics? If you haven't, then it becomes really difficult. Have you got access to a sterile environment for operation procedures and stuff like this? I mean, if you got quite good nursing skills and first aid skills, one could argue that you don't even need a doctor, because what can they do without modern equipment? It's not only modern equipment, modern medication. If someone is ill, or someone's got radiation poisoning, or someone's got a real bad fracture or a deep wound, etc., you may be in the realms where the only thing you can do, no matter what you are, is give them first aid and manage that wound. Hey, Duro. So,
hey guys, sorry about this tonight, Shadow.
Oh, no problem.
So, people trying to barter their way into a group or situation, or into your house or whatever through a door, you've got to really sort of weigh up the odds, or what's the actual benefit of having a doctor in your house when he's got no equipment to work with, he's got no medication to give you, he's got no anesthetic, etc. You could quite easily, well, I wouldn't say easily, but are you going to be just as effective treating that person with like he says there, paramedic, field medic, or a book, where there is no doctor, where there is no dentist, just as someone in the comments says there, tucked by V.
Yeah.
So then again, if you got to choose between two people, if you're going to choose between a doctor or an engineer, the local inventor down the road who invents all the stuff himself and so on, toss up really. But then again, I'm not saying discount doctors, because they are. What does come along with experience being a doctor, inherently is they're obviously intelligent people. They've got sort of personal skills, compassionate skills. They might be, some sort of psychological aspect to them as well that they can help people with. You may be in a scenario in the future where you come across medical supplies, anesthetic, diagnosis equipment, etc. So I'm not saying discount them, but I'm just being argumentative, really, but it's not good to agree with things all the time. You know, you got to throw things out there. I'll be back in.
If you can buy that type of medical equipment, you need to know how to use it, especially when it comes to those anesthetic.
Yeah, I mean, you
medicines.
can, if you know what you're doing, you know, you can make anesthetic, yeah, anesthetize someone, but it's a bit precarious when you're trying to make gases and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
yeah. So I'll just be back in a sec. I'm just going to grab a drink.
No problem. We all need something to drink. Stay hydrated. Prepper for the ages. Some people ask, some people trade, some people take. It's difficult to size someone up in the first minute. I definitely agree with you about that one. That's nearly impossible to size someone up in the first minute. That will take a while before you've done that. I can easily make gases. Just let me eat some beans and a few minutes later, boom, I got gas. Yeah. I could acquaint someone with equipment and topical anesthetic that is currently available online. Yeah, you can do that. Especially that anesthetic, you need a syringe to administer. Sierra slings need to go cool off. Ice bath sounds good. Be gray man and avoid all contact, please. I agree with that. And ice bath, my friend, that sounds really good at this moment.
Okay, Shadow, back.
Yep. Peace journey.
Yeah.
Comment. But get anesthetic online, that would be really difficult for me to get here. Even sure, I can order it online if I know the website, but to get it into my country, that could be a little bit more trickier, because the customs here would probably not allow that. So
yeah, I mean, you got nitrous oxide, Entonox and stuff like that, low grade stuff that people can get hold of, I suppose, now, and hoard. General anesthesia, we're talking, you're going back to the Stone Age, you're going back to pre-industrial situations and stuff like that. You can get, like someone says there, if you know what to look for in a dentist and a pharmacy and stuff like that, xylocaine, lidocaine, stuff like that. Yeah, as Peace Journey says there. Yeah, that's the local anesthetic. You got to know how to use it. If you some stuff comes with adrenaline, some stuff comes without adrenaline. If you put, you inject the wrong body part and it's got adrenaline in it, you could lose that body part. You could lose fingers, noses, ears, toes, etc., etc.
Yeah.
So you've got to, if you have got the equipment, definitely know how to do it. Use it.
Especially if you need a syringe to use it.
Yeah, that as well.
You need to give the right dosage. If you give
exactly.
too much, it's not good, and too little is not good either.
Yeah, but I mean, if you have access to it, or you come across this stuff and you don't know how to use it, you can still have it, because you may come across someone in the future that does know how to use it, like the doctor that's knocked on your door, for instance, who wants to be let in and stuff like this. But likewise, collecting mine says, son-in-law came home from work and confronted him. Police were called. The individual admitted to the police he had ill intentions and planned to do things nefarious. Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, there are topical low-grade creams that you can get. They're more often seen in, say, tattoo parlors and stuff like this to numb down the skin.
Yeah.
Getting off subject,
you can
really.
get an ointment that numb down the skin on the drugstore here. You can.
Right. It's probably the same sort of stuff in it. Yeah. Low grade stuff, really. Teething gel as well.
Low grade.
Yeah. It's things like teething gel has got an amount of lidocaine in it, but there's no way it's going to help someone if they need suture and stuff like that. You're probably better off going to, older school methods like using an ice pack or something like this to really cool and numb the area down that way. But yeah, anyway, that's the anesthetics and stuff. I mean, when it comes to people interacting with strangers who come knocking, it can be quite useful to look at films, because most films that depict this scenario, most series that depict this scenario, has been done many, many times before. And all people have got to do is look at any disaster film or SHTF film, apocalyptic film, and this sort of scenario will be dealt with, whether it be Mad Max 2 when they're trying to gain access to the oil field, or whether it be people stumbling across each other in The Walking Dead, or the 1970s series Survivors, where they're picking up people as they go along and they're interacting with strangers, all this sort of stuff. And I think it'll all come down to resources, really. It's going to be the battle of and for resources. And one particular thing, I think it was the 1970s Survivor series, and this bloke had an opening line. He said, we need you, you need us, let's help each other out, sort of thing. And that was his sort of opening interactive statement, if you like. Yeah. But yeah, I mean,
they can put in what do you have, what is your skill set, and if you say you are a carpenter or plumber or welder, oh fine, you are the person we need.
Yeah. So it's it can be beneficial to actually take these people in and sacrifice resources, rations, food, water, and all sort of stuff for that reason, because they're going to be, the benefits outweigh the pros outweighs the cons and this sort of stuff. Farmers or whatever, gardeners, and it could be something as simple as that. But for general things, people knocking on the doors unexpected, you don't know who they are, and etc., you wouldn't, would you? You just wouldn't let them in. Not for a long-term situation. Definitely not. If people do that sort of thing, Daryl's still there. He says battery's too low. If people still do that sort of thing, in a sort of long-term grid down SHTF situation, then you're basically being foolish, really. You get what you deserve, really, and you're literally gambling with that person. Like I say, short-term scenarios, not much of an issue. You can go back
it will be
to
a problem when you in a long term.
Yeah. Short-term scenarios, you can go back to say 9/11, where people were taking people in out of the danger zone, or people were accommodating people in Nova Scotia, Winnipeg, I think it was, when the flights got, loads of flights got diverted there and that sort of thing. And people mucked in and donated resources and helped out and this sort of stuff. Fine, But it's all okay when resources are plentiful and you're all working towards one common goal. But when it's the rules of society have broken down, the rule of law is broken down, resources are running down, then different scenario. Eclectic Mind says, have you ever read David Robbins' The End Game or Blade series? Anyone? Very interesting SHTF fictional series. I haven't, no, personally. When
I see The End Game, it reminds me of the Highlander, The End Game. So
right. Yeah, so things that can be films and stuff like this can be beneficial to band ideas around and wake people up and give them sort of scenarios to depict what's going to happen and what could happen or one possible outcome and so on. So yeah, I wouldn't discount them sort of things. And Durrell says there, this is why keeping fit is very important if you have to defend your group. Yeah. So if you don't let the person and you don't interact with it, they do get disgruntled and it starts to turn sour and you do start to have a confrontation, then you'll suddenly realize you should have kept yourself fit. You should have got your preparations in order, people trained, people well aware of how to defend the situation, and you're in a close confrontational situation then, and you wish you'd have been fitter and stronger.
Yeah.
People may not be in that situation though. They may not be fit. They may not be strong. They may be disabled. May have an injury, and so on. Peace Journey said there. Yeah, I've been a nurse for 25 years. If you're on your own and it's an emergency, use very little, very shallow until it's bearable. To clean and repair, at least put the pieces back together. Right, I'm not sure what it was referring to then. It may be something I missed earlier on, but yeah.
I think Peace Journey means wounds, probably.
Right. Yeah, as Hoople's Cat channel says, nothing in SHTF is single use. Everything has a use, a secondary use, and a recyclable use. So don't throw anything away. Yeah, Durrell says there, a strong coalition is key. Coalitions and groups and things like neighborhood watch schemes and things like this, they're okay. But they're okay as a sort of a warning system to each other. At the end of the day, if someone is actually knocking on your door, the neighbor hasn't necessarily, they're not necessarily in a position, they may not be, or they may not want to be in a position to help you. It may be a case of, we'll turn a blind eye, see what happens to next door sort of thing. So it comes down to sort of, the yo-yo situation. You're on your own. But having said that, the principles of defense, mutual support, is part of a principle of defence. So, it's better to have a coalition and other people on board in your neighbourhood than not to, because they'll be your mutual support. They'll be your sort of quick reaction force, standby troops, if you like, if it ever comes to that scenario and they're on board. So, yeah. The grumpy old guy said, "This is why I use zip tie sutures. Doesn't require anything other than pulling the skin together and then clean and cover." Yep. People out there, I think, have got to realise, suturing isn't everything. You've got to know when to suture. It may not be appropriate to actually suture something. Maybe beneficial to leave the wound open and so on. There are various alternatives to actual using the conventional suture stitches and needle and thread job. Everything from using glue, the hair apposition technique and all this sort of stuff, all the way through to staple guns and stuff. But yeah, and anesthetic is a massive thing people take for granted now, let alone anything else. But and Peace Journey says, "Yeah, I have tended a back bounce from a chainsaw on site. Had to clean and piece the layers back together to have hope of sutures by the time they could get to the ER and no infection." Yeah, nasty things, chainsaws.
Oh yeah.
Nasty things. People, SHTF events, you're out on a limb, there's no backup, or you're in a remote area. Power tools bite, and they bite with a vengeance. And use the appropriate safety gear. It's not, it may be too hot to work and stuff like that, but you've got to wear the appropriate safety gear and stuff. I don't know what the actual circumstances of Peace Journey's situation was, or injury, but you can't help having the right equipment for the right job. There's so many people bodging things with alternate equipment and tools, but at least wear the proper the gear. Eye protection is a must. Hearing protection, all this sort of stuff. And the last thing you want to do is get injured in an SHTF event when there's no help available. It's the last thing you want to do, because it's just a case of what do you do?
Yeah. You need to be really careful.
You got no access
when you're
to
handling tools.
Yeah. You've got no access to X-rays, imaging equipment, diagnosis equipment, anesthetic, etc., etc. Pretty grim. You're literally back to the 1800s and so on. So, right. So I've got another 5 minutes, Shadow, and I'm gonna have to depart.
Yeah, I know, your regular time.
Yeah. Tuck by V says, "I don't own a chainsaw. I'm leaning toward man-powered tools for any off-grid, post-grid life." Yep, nothing wrong with that, I suppose. Yeah. I like to have power tools and manual tools as a backup. Yeah, Bob's arrived here. Hello, Bob.
Hey, Bob.
Bob said I just rub poo on it. Yeah.
Well, I thought this topic would be something for Bob to put something in.
Yeah, there's just too many crazes out there, and the worse any sort of disaster scenario gets, SHTF event, riot, or whatever, the craziers just get crazier, and the desperation just gets more desperate, and you just can't interact with people not in that sort of scenario. They're, like I said, they'll just lie, say and do absolutely everything and anything to gain access. That's the peaceful way as well. That's without even turning violent, you know. So they may even come to the door and threaten you with, you know, if you don't let me in and give me stuff, I'll tell everyone else in the neighborhood you've got 3 years of supply, and they'll come back with extra manpower and forces. Like I say, they'll do and say anything to just get what they want, basically. So you're in a position there, you know, if they start threatening that sort of stuff, you could be in the situation where you just take them out and, you know, stop the threat straight away. Take them out, hide the body, and crack on. That's one possible scenario. So, bad times, bad people. Bad people do the bad things at the best of times, let alone in the worst of times.
I agree with that.
Yeah, so
especially the how the times are now these days is
you can't trust anyone.
a mess, basically.
Can't trust anyone the best of times. Yeah. If it gets to a situation where there's that many people, you know, keep roaming around and knocking on doors and stuff like this, it might be the time to get away. Leave them to it, you know. I mean, we're almost we're living in SHTF now. To be honest, the situation's got to the point where, you know, you can't really rely on the police to respond. The medical facilities have gone completely to pot, and you know, if you go to an emergency room in Britain, for instance, in some cases they'll see you in 3 days. You would be sitting there in the ER department for 3 or 4 days plus. Best case scenario, 44 hours. Bob's asking for the link. So yeah, you know, I'll tag team with Bob. I'm just about to go. Oh, Vanessa's arrived as well. Look.
Yeah, I'm gonna send Bob the link. So
That's a glance says, had fun with you all. Going to get off my legs. Hope you all have a great morning, afternoon, evening, or night. Look forward to the next chill and chat.
She's jumping off.
No worries. So I'll catch you later. At a glance. And good to see you in the comments there. Ribs and chicken are almost done. Beer can, chicken, and smoked ribs.
Hey Bob, good
nice.
to see you.
Hey Bob, you all right?
How you doing?
Good. Oh, good. Oh, good.
Yeah, good. Looking well there.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, well, this is a whole lot of handsome manliness right here.
Got a bit of a tan going on there. What's going on? In the garden.
Out gardening every day. But I was on the phone listening to you guys for a moment on the headphones, and I'm going through a situation right now with my next door neighbors. The first year, almost a year, I thought they were okay, but they found out that they can't get anything from us or use us. So now I'm switching to the pattern of avoidance. I don't want to talk to him. He's even sent his wife over to try to seduce to get her way into our house. That ain't happening, you know. And people are monsters. People are pigs. I mean, they really are, you know.
And that's now. I mean, that's without any
Right
sort
now.
of, you know, big event going on or anything like that. And
Nope.
so it's just gonna. So the situation is probably not going to get any better. It's just probably going to get gradually worse, and disgruntled, you know, will set in and that sort of stuff. But
well, a simple thing like putting
I might have saw the video on my channel where they took one of my cameras down.
Oh, right.
Now, so yeah. Oh, believe me, I got home security like you would not believe, you know. And that to me is becoming nefarious because screw them.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a bit of it's a reflection on people when they think they can expect things from you.
Mm-hmm.
You become, it's one thing, talking to people over the fence and your next door neighbors and stuff, and being on the same sort of page, and then they start expecting things and this sort of stuff, and it's just, what sort of mentality is that? It's not. There's something wrong there to begin with, isn't there?
Well, give you an idea. The most recent thing was on the 4th of July. I have a burn pit thing. You can pick it up, move it, and all that.
Yeah.
I was getting it set up out in the front yard, and out he comes. He goes, "Are you allowed to burn?" And I went, "Well, I honestly, I don't care, but I was going to share the burn pit with the neighbors." But I told him I don't care, and I picked it up, put it in the backyard, and the wife and I sat in the backyard, and I drank 3 or 4 bottles of beer, which knocked me senseless. But she and I enjoyed the fire pit with my loving spouse right next to each other. Yeah, he's gotten to that point to where if I go out front, he or she are going to approach me, and it's weird because I don't want this all to be about my drama, but this is how people behave.
Yeah,
they have a lower income than we do. They drink every day and they smoke weed every day. Yeah, and they already have a lower income than us, and now they're spending what extra they have on getting high, Right. And that makes us look even more inviting because of our income. So it all started going south when he had offered me some bags of fertilizer for the grass, for the front grass. And I said, I'll do it organically. I don't want that fertilizer. And it's none of his business that it sends my wife's nose into a she have a migraine for days, and when she smells that shit. But I didn't tell him that, but that's none of his business. But
I was talking about this earlier when someone sort of offers you something, and then they use it as an excuse later on down the line. I've done you a favor. I was offering I gave you this and this sort of stuff.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'll tell you, that's the sort of thing they use in prisons. That is, inmates
do
that to other inmates.
Exactly. Yeah. And in fact, when I was cutting that cherry tree down in the backyard, he offered twice. I'll come over there with my pole chainsaw, and I refused. No, I don't want it.
It's like entrapment. You're beholden to them straight away, sort of indirectly. I mean, but they shouldn't ask you. What sort of a comment is that when they say? It's a bit of a weird comment. Are you allowed to use that in your fire pit? I mean, that's strange.
I use the term as getting into my house. They're doing anything. Then he comes over another time and he goes, "Oh, I want to cut this grass strip in front of your house." And I said, "Okay." Why?
Yeah.
Well, we used to take care of this place, and I went, "Really? All right." So okay, and it's just, and now it's to the point to where anytime him or his son is doing anything, they've got to run over here to borrow tools. People are nefarious,
hey guys,
man.
Sorry, Bob. If I cut out, it's because my battery's died. So I just came on because PV's going to go soon, and just to come on basically to say, if I do cut off, have a good night, everybody. But in the meantime, I'm here. But yeah, Bob, it's tough. I mean, where we live in London and cities, we wasn't meant to live like this, on top of each other, next to each other like sardines. And everybody's looking out of their curtain. Everybody's looking next door. Everybody's looking at what car you got, what shoes you got, what phone you got, and they look at you and you're like, well, I'm going to sort of, put you wherever I feel that you are in society, whether you're sort of low, middle, or high, whatever. I mean, people sort of use the materialism to sort of, some people might think, well, the guy's wearing a shirt and trousers, so he's probably someone that's trustworthy. There was a test done recently in England where they put a guy in a suit outside Liverpool Road train station, and he pretended that he was something wrong with him. He was ill, or he was sick, and he just sort of laid there on the stairs. and something like within 6 seconds, people approached him to say, "Oh, how are you? Are you okay, sir? Are you okay, sir?" And then the same place, they put a guy with a t-shirt and jeans on, and they put him laid out on the stairs, and the time was much, much longer. You know, I mean, the first guy, 6 seconds. How are you, sir? So people look at people, how they're dressed as well. And what is my point? Well, yeah, what is my point? But it's interesting. I mean, if someone came to the group, your group, and said, "Oh, I'm a sheikh. I've got loads of gold and material, and let me in." And a pauper knocks on your door, you know, and I've got nothing.
Yeah,
I mean, we're talking about who do we trust.
People are building up a picture of everyone all the time around them and stuff. Anyway, I've got to shoot off, so I'm going to have to
catch you later,
Shadow. I'll catch you later, Bob. Good to see you.
Okay, Vet. Take care.
See you later, Costa.
Yeah, take care, PB Andy. God bless.
Yeah, that's an interesting study. I believe it. You know, and
yeah, I mean, we wasn't meant to live like this, one on top of each other, side by side, and we was, you know, they say we're overpopulated. We're not actually. I mean, if you look at the amount of people and look at the space that those people take up, and look at the size of the world, actually, we're not that many really, but. You know, we've been brought into cities as workers. People come here for a better life, whatever reason they've got. People were born here, whatever. But we weren't meant to live like this. We were meant to be more spaced out, more. You know, there's loads of room, but it's just mismanagement of resources, mismanagement of education, mismanagement of everything. To the point I was going to say earlier. I mean, it's 2024. And people still haven't learned how to put rubbish in a dustbin.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about how to be civil in the crap hit the fan situation. And it's so sad by now, 2024, that we haven't learned to live together. I mean, most the people on the ground, most of the people in the world, they do just get on with each other. You know, they don't want to go to war and start fighting and killing and bombing everybody. I guess it's the ones that want the majority of the resources that want to do the fighting and killing and displacing of peoples all over the place.
The ones who've got money, who want there is no such thing as enough money. They'll do anything they can to get more. Anything.
Oh yeah, your Rothschilds, your Rockefellers. I mean, they say openly things like, "Oh man."
Yeah, I think he just lost battery.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I know the last thing he came over to borrow, or he caught me going out to the mailbox or to the car. Do you have any metric bolts? And he's going to go help his son fix his car. And I said, no, the only thing I have is Imperial. And, oh, I need one. I dropped it. I can't find it. But, you know, my mind went, and I told him, Tacoma Screw down in Kent, Washington, guaranteed to have them. But I never thought of it at the time. But we have a hardware store right down the street. Yeah, they've got metric bolts. Why the fuck would you come to me? I mean, it's constant like that now. It's constant, constant. And
that is really annoying.
It is. And whenever I start a project, I get the logistics in place, the tools I'm going to need, everything, and then begin the project. People like that, they rely on their neighbors to use them as a resource. Anyone who says people are a resource, watch out for them. They will they will do anything, you know.
Yeah, I agree with that. Definitely. And by the way, this topic, I got this idea from Reliable Prepper from his channel. He had made a video. I believe the title was How to Deal with Strangers When You're Bugging In. I think the title was something like that. And when I watched that video and finished that and left a comment for him, he mentioned a lot of good points. He said that keep an eye on the stranger and that person you don't know. If he look for his or her behavior, if the person is sneaking around your neighbor's house, begins looking through the windows, pulling in the doors, he's up to no good.
That's a fact.
And he mentioned that also you should. Meant that you should maintain surveillance on that person constantly, get more information.
That's a fact. Yeah. It's hard enough to trust anyone right now. And if things go worse, yeah, it's going to get worse. Yeah. Oh, they just taken. Oh, that's a peace journey. Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that. I told my neighbors, all of them, when we first moved in here, I told them my situation where we used to live with all the drug addicts trying to get into our house, and I told all of them, do not step foot inside of this building for any reason unless you're invited in. If you do, you're gonna get hurt. Period. You know.
Hey, Ken.
Yeah. But yeah, watch out for the sex thing, because they'll sell it. The neighbor lady has been trying to seduce me for a long time, and that's one way to get in. You know, now you owe me because you screwed my wife. Now you owe me. No, that's not happening.
That will not happen in your lifetime, and not mine either.
Yep. Yeah, a couple of weeks in a row when I waited until Sunday when my wife was home, and she sat on the front porch of the house while I was cutting the grass in the front. Kind of funny how when the wife's home, I don't see either one of them ever. They don't come out of the house, but when I'm by myself, here they come, both of them.
That's their tactics.
Mm-hmm.
Because if your missus is not home, then take advantage of it, and they can hold that against you.
Bingo. The wife gave me some good advice. She said, no matter what happens from now on, hon, have them stand near one of the cameras so it can be recorded what they're saying. And I said, yeah. And I also have this right here, because people who are using drugs and alcohol daily, they have no limit. If they see an income next door, I mean, it would not surprise me that sometime within a year or two, that she'll probably claim rape or something. You know, I do not trust. We were going to rebuild the fence between the two houses, and since the wife is constantly after me with sexual offers, I am going to hire a contractor to do that. I'm not stepping 1 foot on their property, especially if it's just she and I. I'm not touching it. I'm not going nowhere near it. It'll cost me a lot, but
yeah, but it's worth it at the end anyway. So because if they see a contractor do the job, why should they go for the contractor? No reason.
Yeah.
That is you they want. So
yeah, and that's the hard part is her word against mine. I live in a very freaky place where believe all women. Well, you know, yeah, offenses are. But you know what? I found one of the best things so far. I've mentioned this before: Bluetooth headphones, because I noticed my neighbor on the other side of my house When he goes out and gardens, he puts his earbuds in and he talks to no one.
Yeah.
And I believe I mentioned it on your show before, Shadow,
you
that
did.
The American Indian lady who lives across the street, when I got done cutting the grass one afternoon, she called me over and she asked me, "Where you been, Bob? Haven't seen you around." Now, I don't know how well they know this other couple next to us, so I said, "Oh, I've just been working in the back, you know." But when his wife is home, I don't go out in the front yard. When she leaves for work, then I'll go in the front yard with my headphones on, shut them off. But can you imagine what those people would do if things got really desperate?
I can imagine that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They would probably turn to a violent behavior.
Most
Probably.
likely.
Most likely. Yeah.
Most likely. And it upset me when one of the times I talked with the guy next door, I said, I'm putting 5 mil thick vinyl sheeting over my exterior windows. And and I read his body language, like he kind of winced, like, oh shit. That's right, dude. That's right, dude. You ain't got a way to get in. It's not going to be easy for you.
You can try, but I don't think it's worth it.
Yeah, by the time you pound on those windows 5 or 6 times, I know exactly where you are. You're not going to like it.
I agree with that. That will be definitely a shock for him, definitely. Or her.
Mm-hmm. And in fact, when I said something to you guys for a moment, I was out on the backyard on the deck with my Bluetooth headphones on and listening and went, yeah, I think I'll come up and say something. But during a real disastrous times, if it happens, I wouldn't trust it. I wouldn't trust anybody, you know.
No.
We've already got a plan in place. The whole family is the only people who come inside the house during bad times will be blood relatives only, nobody else. And I won't open the door for anybody. And now, say someone is really genuinely hungry. If I knew them before the disaster happened, I might do something to help them. I'm not saying I will, not saying I won't. But if I don't know you, I'll just yell through the door in another language. I don't speak English. So, you know. Yeah, thanks, Peace Journey. Yeah, I'm an old guy, and I've been around the world a lot, and I've had games pulled on me before, and yeah.
Yeah, you knew that drill too well.
I sure do. Yeah. Yeah.
If they think they can mess with you, Bob, that's a huge mistake.
Yes, it is. Mm-hmm.
They will make.
Mm-hmm.
Don't make Bob pissed off.
Don't do it.
Will regret it.
Yeah. I'm no special forces guy or nothing like that, but I got a family to guard. You know.
Yeah, and I believe you're good enough with your thunder sticks.
Yeah.
So
we all are. We all are. Everyone in the family. Yeah.
Yeah, so they will regret that too.
Mm-hmm.
If they even try something.
Yeah, or get an artist stick. That won't work out well either. Or a knife.
They will
that
not
won't
be
work
that
out.
happy after that one.
Mm-hmm. Hendo, why are you asking me about CR? I thought it was your turn to watch him today.
Well, CR is busy, so he does not will pop up today.
Well, you know, CR's Canadian. He probably melted like a freaking snowman. Now he's a big puddle of water in the floor, you know?
Yeah, that is how I feel
Yeah.
in this heat. So,
Mhm. Yeah, I'm enjoying the hot weather. This is my element, man. I love this shit, you know?
actually, not me, because when I woke up at Thursday morning this week, and I woke up with headache,
Mhm.
and I woke up and went to the bathroom, and I threw up.
Really?
Yep,
Oh, man.
I got a real severe migraine attack, so that was not fun. So I had to
Oh,
call my boss and says, "Hey, I got a severe migraine attack and I can't
yeah.
come to work today." And I called my boss 7:10 a.m. So that's and before I called my boss, I had already thrown up 4 times already.
Oh, dude. Keep up
Yeah,
on your water, brother. Yeah.
and then after I talked to my boss, I hang up, and then I went to bed. Woke up 10:30, went to the bathroom, threw up another time
Oh,
again.
man.
So 5 times I threw up. And then after that, I went to bed, slept to 2:30 p.m., and I felt a little bit better. But you can imagine yesterday
Mm.
what a migraine hangover you get. Oh, Lord, that's horrible. And then I know exactly what's caused that migraine attack. It was the heat.
Yeah. I'm at Peace Journey's channel right now. Let me looking around your channel a little bit. Let's see. Yeah. So forgive me for a moment. I think I'll go ahead and connect with you there, Peace Journey. Okay, there we go. I'll leave you a comment if you'd like to return. All right, just a minute.
So that's why I can't stand the heat. I suffer from heat and sun migraine. So, and when I was sleeping, I'm sweating like in the Niagara Falls. Basically, I could fill up the Mississippi with all my sweat that
Yeah.
night. Yeah, from Wednesday to Thursday night. So, and I woke up with a headache, and bam, there I was.
Yep. The only time I've had migraine is when I found out that I'm allergic to black mold. That migraines are awful. They're terrible, you know.
Yeah, I can't stand the blue cheese because I get if I smell that smell. If somebody opens a blue cheese and I smell it,
Oh,
I get migraine. I can't be in the same room. I have to
oh
go
man.
somewhere else.
Yeah, you got a mold allergy. Yeah. Mine's just a black mold. Yeah. Hey. Hello, survival. Afternoon.
So that is not fun. But now, at least next week, I have vacation for 4 weeks, so I'm happy with
Right
that.
on. Right on. Well, I Shadow, I guess I won't see you over in the Philippines then, will I?
That will not happen.
Not having.
No, in that case, you will probably have some migraine medicine, strong ones,
Mm-hmm.
because I will not feel good at all.
Yeah. Yeah. If you can't take the heat, boy, don't go down there. You'll suffer.
Yeah. Everything over 12 degrees Celsius is too hot for me. I need
Mm-hmm.
below that. I need dark and cold. That's when I'm happiest. And when I'm happiest, when it's dark and cold.
Oh,
Not when
yeah.
it's sun and hot. No, 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 no.
Yeah.
I feel I
Thank.
got enough sunlight for the next 3 million. Yes.
Mhm.
I don't need
Thanks.
that much sunlight.
Thanks, Peace Journey. Yeah, you won't. You better stay there in Sweden or Norway or Denmark or someplace like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
Northern Europe. Oh, no sound. There, Dear Love Survival. No sound.
I suffered from migraine since I was 3 years old.
Oh, oh boy. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
Arctic Circle. Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you better stay up
with
there
the
where there's
penguins.
there's no pollen or mold in the Antarctica, is there? No.
No.
I worked with a lady. She was a merchant marine, and most of her life she's been out on ships at sea. And she said one of the reasons why she stayed in that trade is because there's no pollen out on the ocean. Her sinuses cleared up, and she was fine. As soon as they came to land, all the pollen and whatever else would go right after her and make her sick. You know?
Yeah. Black mold is something of the worst mold ever.
Yeah, ever. Mm-hmm.
Because that affects adults more than other types of mold.
Yeah, it does. Let's see here. I see. Well, I guess I put in my 2 cents worth. There's Shadow. I'm gonna bounce over here, say hello to Maria for a few minutes, and then I'll go outside cleaning the windows and stuff like that. Got stuff to do outside, so
Yeah, and keep an eye on your neighbor that are nutcases.
they are. Yeah, that's once again. I tell you, I go to a coffee shop every day and talk to the baristas and all, and the best life coaching I can give for the young people that I talk to is stay away from the dope and the booze, and you'll have a good life. Stay
Yeah.
sober. Don't go fall into that trap of addiction. Cigarettes are bad enough, but when you add booze and dope and all that, no, stay out of that
Oh,
stuff. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I'm going to bounce out of here, Shadow.
Yeah.
I want to remind you that I am still far better looking than you are.
As always.
That's always okay. I didn't get a chance to fire CR today, though, but well, there's another time.
Well, there will be more opportunities to do
Yeah.
that.
Peace, everybody. God bless.
Take care. God bless.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Tuck by V. I was reading that supplemental magnesium may reduce migraines. Thank you. I will remember that. And thanks for the tip. I will check that up. No hurricane here, just 10 to 20 inches rain and high winds. Yeah, I bet they had to. Yeah, you have done that a couple of times, Kaylin. Strangers, you should be vigilant when it comes to them. Some are nice or supposed to be nice, but that is a mess. Sooner or later, they will show their real nature, so that is a problem. Most of them are probably psychopaths because they can manipulate people, and it's hard to spot psychopath, especially in SHTF, but they are really hard to spot even under normal circumstances. Yes, Kaylin, magnesium also helps out with muscle cramps. Yeah. Yeah, when I could drink again after my migraine attack, I took double dose of electrolytes. I really needed that. Tropatom's recap. Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm gonna check your channel out too, by the way. Okay, cool. I'm gonna check your channel out after this live stream, and the same with Ken. I will check your channel out as well. Okay, Peace Journey. Have a lovely weekend, everyone. I need to go to do things that gotta get done. I understand. And you're very welcome, my friend. GG Junior Grows it, Alaska. Welcome, my friend. Good to see you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Have a great rest of the weekend. Thank you, Prepper, for the HS. I appreciate that, and I hope you will have a great weekend too. Okay, dear love survival. No problem. Good night to you. And you take care. Stay safe. Stay vigilant. And God bless. Thanks for stopping by, dear love survival. I appreciate it. But anyway, strangers can be really tricky. So it's hard to know which one is good, which one is not. But you have to try to read their body language, which requires a lot of some practice, and that is a skill you need to practice. And I believe there is books you can uh, on that specific topic, if I remember it correctly. Um, or there might be also YouTube videos on that topic on body, how to read body languages. That is what I say, Grumpy, my friend. That is what I say. Trust no one. And I don't trust in no one. So unless I learn, no, unless I know those, of course. But in my opinion, if a stranger want me to trust them, they have to earn my trust to prove themselves that I can trust them. And that might be a hard earned trust. So I think when it comes to strangers, I think it's, as you said, trust no one. But the most important thing is stay vigilant. Uh, Listen to what they say and keep an eye on them and see how they behave. Um, if they have not normal behavior, uh, but some people are really good at hiding those things, so that can be a little bit trickier. So in that case, it's better to choose the option not to trust them, and also always keep them in sight. Always. But I agree. Be careful and stay vigilant. And be careful with what you are saying. Is things that should be so important to remember. Don't give away too much. And be also aware of strangers who ask too many questions. Because they probably want more to know more than you are willing to give them. So I was thinking to begin to wrap things up now, and yeah, it's pretty late. It's almost 11:30 here p.m. So yeah, I think it's a good idea to wrap things up. But anyway, I will see you next week, guys. Thanks for stopping by. I appreciate it, and thank you for your support. I also appreciate that. And take care, stay safe, stay vigilant, be part of the solution, not the problem. God bless. And I will see you next weekend and in the next video. Have a nice weekend. Stay safe. And I'm out.